This was the question. We are fnatic video.
Oh,
Just
yes.
why? That's the question.
Well, if I were the one that was, obviously the producer of this video, I don't know. Like, how am I supposed to? I went there. They filmed this is gonna be super cool, and we filmed this whole shebang. Like, all right, we're buying into it. We'll do our stuff, and then we're mid-prac and the video is released. That's our timeline.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets, guaranteed.
These bombs go to the teammates.
I wanna see you falling fast. Win the round. Win the game.
Parimatch, your esports teammate. Hey buddy, let me show you how to fix that. Bitskins.com. Buy and sell skins instantly. Deposit and withdraw funds instantly with crypto or directly to your Visa card. Woohoo! Bitskins.com, the best skin marketplace.
HLTV Confirmed Season 5, Episode 54. It's Tuesday, the 14th of September. And I just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors who make this show possible. First and foremost, Xtrfy, keyboards, mice, pads, all that jazz. Check them out if you're in the market for any of those. We've got Parimatch, gamble responsibly. Bitskins, buy and sell CSGO skins and items. And if you're at home and you're on the go and you want to listen to HLTV Confirmed on the road, you can head over to anchor.fm/HLTV, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. All right, on tonight's show, we're going to be doing the hot seat with Devilwalk. You can see him. He's right there. He's not allowed to talk just yet. That's the rules. Technically, he can talk. There's no rules. I just thought maybe I'd throw a rule out there.
I'll talk just
so he's broken the rule.
Yeah,
because he's already broken the rule that doesn't exist.
I've actually listened to HLTV Confirmed podcast on Spotify.
Okay, see, there you go. That's an endorsement.
Did you rate it? Did you upload it?
I did not do any of that, but I enjoyed it.
Okay. Well, that's the main thing. That's what we want people to be here to enjoy it, right? All right.
Yeah.
We're also going to be talking about all the big news. For example, South. We're going to be touching on them. All things ESL Pro League, Blast coming up in a couple days' time, and all those bits and bobs, guys. So let's get through this one. I haven't written myself. I haven't been as ready as I need to be for today. Prophet, are you feeling ready?
Kinda, yeah. I sorted out a lot of things today, and just like 30 minutes ago, I'm like, okay, now I can full focus on the show. I'm feeling quite nice, honestly. I've noticed that you've been kind of absent the last days. Everything okay with?
So yes, I'm okay. I traveled back yesterday, and I'm in a new place that I was decking out. I even bought a plant today. Right? That's
what plant did you buy?
Is it alive or is it a plastic?
It's still alive.
Okay.
It's behind me. You can't see it. Hold up.
Plants die after
like
one
a succulent or something.
Oh, look, I live in Malta. It's very hot, guys. It is probably going to die. I'm going to be gone for like 2 weeks in 2 weeks' time. So it's definitely going to die then. It's not going to get water. All right, cool. We've covered the plants. Now, Striker, you've heard that Prof is kind of ready. Would you say that you're, kind of ready? You're better than kind of ready, or underprepared?
Is it a poll or something? I'm like, do you want a percentage on this? I'm like 90% ready.
90% ready.
Sure.
All right, I'm happy with that. 90% ready. Lucas,
Yes.
I read a comment in the YouTube comment section, and someone was mentioning that when I said that you were part of the panel, that it was almost like you were Dobby from Harry Potter, getting your
I am
first piece
free.
of clothes. Yeah. So do you feel more free since last episode?
Definitely not.
Okay.
No.
Well, I just want to let everybody know that it's not me who does any of the torturing. It is Martin, right? I am too far away to mistreat you. Have I ever mistreated you, Lucas?
I think you ignored me on LAN one time, but I was nobody for
That's
you.
in the channel mistreating.
There we go.
That was like 2.5 years ago.
Yes, but see, he remembers everyone.
No, but I didn't know it was you. We never met
Yeah.
before.
It's done. It's
All
done,
right,
man.
all
You're
right,
going
all right,
to
all right, all
hell.
right. We're moving on. We're
You're
moving
going
on.
to hell, Sponge.
Lucas, roll the bumper. Let's get into it. All right, well, he spoke and he broke the rules, but Devilwalk is joining us here this evening. Devilwalk, hello.
Hello.
We already did our hellos.
I also feel free now.
Okay, I'm glad the rules have been lifted. All right. I feel like tonight's episode, guys, is going to be one of those ones where we actually like have quite a nice conversation. Conversation will be on the cards, right? This isn't going to be just a Chad Birchall directing traffic type of conversation tonight. I feel good vibes about this one. So, Devilwalk, just in general, let's actually, you know what? Let's go with Prof's questions. Let's go with these because he spends a lot of time doing these. So we'll just start.
Okay.
We'll start with them and we'll see where we go. All right. So now for those playing at home, people like it when I give a little bit of an explanation on who the guest is, right? Because some people maybe they don't know. So the man on your screen right now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Counter-Strike fans, and maybe just Counter-Strike enthusiasts. This is Devil motherfucking Walk, the winner of the first CSGO major ever. All right. So get some fucking respect on this guy's name.
I don't think you need to do that.
Well, I've seen the threads, Devilwalk 1 major, s1mple 0. There's a new addition to that. How do you feel about the new addition?
The new edition, I feel like it's later than I expected to come.
Okay.
I thought this joke would be over after like 6 months, but it continued on for much longer than I expected. So I'm happy about that.
All right, we got a bit of a conversation to have around the whole major versus Grand Slam thing a little bit later in the show. But let's kick off here. Obviously, you're the coach of FPX, right?
Yeah.
That goes without saying, or maybe it needs to be said. But FPX, you boys, up until I think it was late August, hadn't even played an official in about, was it 3 months? It was just under 3 months by the looks of things here?
3 or 4 months, something like that.
Yeah, so your last was the IEM Summer 2021, and then coming back from that was Pinnacle Fall Series, and that doesn't look like it went too well for you.
A bit or under 3 months. Just
And before that, we didn't have a full lineup since December last year.
Yeah, I think you guys have probably had it worse than Complexity in that regard with the constant revolving door. So in that 3-month period of time, Emmy, was he on the team he was on the team for the entirety of that, right?
Exactly. We're practicing with him for those 3 months undercover. Yeah.
So right now, this is the longest period of time that you have had with a full 5 roster in a year and a half. Since the whole Makalele situation, right? Because Makalele went, Farley came in, more shit happened, right?
Crystal went out.
That whole Crystal situation. He's still playing. He's still going. All right. So the team where it's at, right? I guess let's go there. Let's go with the Emmy edition of the team. We can probably dive into some of the other bits and bobs as we go through the show. But having Emmy as part of the team now, I was trying to get Azza to join your team. I'm not going to lie, right?
I would have loved that.
I tried. I told him he should have gone. I tried to get Liaz over to Genji. I tried to get Azza to join I tried to work on a couple of things. But now that you've had Emmy for this chunk of time, are things settling in as you want them to be? Because we know that there was, I don't know if it was contract issues with FPX or if it was chrisj's side, but it was maybe an agent, maybe someone got involved there. But you guys, didn't we have Sticko on the show and he said that the team wanted chrisj?
Yeah.
Okay, so
there's confirmation of that happened. We know that.
Do we know what happened, Devilwalk? Can we say what happened?
I mean, it's between FPX and chrisj. I mean, they didn't come to an agreement, and that's it basically.
Okay, well, that's simple. But now you've got Emmy now, right?
Yeah.
Emmy is of now I don't want to get his nationality wrong. Prof, can you do it for me? I always get in trouble when I
Serbian
talk.
and half Montenegrin.
Oh,
Yeah, I get in
okay.
trouble when I talk about this part of the world because one time Yanko told me that Nico was like a Serbian Bosnian, and then I said that, and then I got in trouble.
Yeah.
People were tweeting at me quite angrily.
But
I mean,
basically,
yeah.
Pavle is the same but reverse. He has the Montenegrin flag, but he's also half Serbian.
And then you have Nico, who's like Serbian but Bosnian, so he has a Bosnian flag.
Yeah.
And then you have no one from Croatia being relevant, and that we actually have a player in FPL. Shout out to Depression, great name, classic.
Needs to fix that name.
That name kind of fucked up, but yeah, props to him. Just plugging him right here. But what happened with the Emmy signing? Let's go there. Let's allow Devilwalk to actually talk.
Yeah.
I mean, from our point of view, we tried to get chrisj, where we're looking for a different, type of in-game leader, and it was rough, I think, to get to that point. Maybe a little bit harder than we expected. But we know Emmy's qualities since before. We played with him. And I mean, at the end of the day, everyone has different qualities. Just as I have good qualities, I have bad qualities. And I think that what made us go for Emmy is that he has a really structured mind. He is really good with that structured kind of way of setting up your defaults and in the beginning stage and the rounds and executes is really well thought out of. And that's something that maybe I lack in some sense. I'm more of a creating a little bit of triggers, creating rules of how to react in certain situations, and I think that the blend itself makes sense, where he covers up my weakness and I can cover up his in some sense.
Okay. All right. Now, I wanted to kind of dive into something that I don't know if Sticko said it directly or if it was more he's alluding to it or more that's what I took from what he was saying. But the fact that you guys have played with the revolving door of a fifth so often, right? And then a lot of the occasions it was the in-game leader. Was that a time for you guys, or you specifically being the coach, right? You're having to deal with the in-game leader the most. So when a new in-game leader is coming in, whether it's temporary or permanent, and they're coming into the team, are you like, here, bro, like download all this? Or are you like, hey, how do you want to go? Like, what was a lot of the conversations with those in-game leaders like? Because for you, that must have just been a nightmare.
Well, the problem is when you're doing these kind of switches with in-game leader thing is that you will basically, first of all, always like digress your progress. Like it will always go backwards. Like it doesn't matter who you take in at what scenario. It doesn't matter if it's glaive or not. In the beginning stage, you will always go backwards. And then when we know also that, for example, Sunny was temporary, when we knew that chrisj wouldn't be the last one, for example, it takes a huge hit in motivation for most players. It also takes some issues maybe you oversee because you don't see them fixable within that time frame, or that you want to focus on other things in the short term. So it definitely complicates things when you, I mean, at the beginning of the year, we're making goals, we're putting this into perspective, and everyone is agreeing on this is what we should be aiming for and that, and how we should work towards it. And then, you get these kind of slaps in the face that nothing is really set anymore, and we don't really know what our,
What you're playing for, essentially.
No, but like what you're, it's like every teammate has abilities that they come with, right? Some person might be depressed but really good, and some person hypes the team up, and you need all these different qualities to make a team successful. And if you don't have them or cover them up for each other, where you don't necessarily need to, show the negative side of a player or a person, you can always cover it up. That's what a team does. Like that's the actual fundamentals of a team, is to to back each other up so the negatives don't really shine through. And I think that for our case, I mean, I almost lost myself in this a little bit. If someone can repeat the question.
It was just about with all the different in-game leaders coming in,
Ah,
right?
yeah,
and your position as the coach and having to
I
deal
mean,
with them.
it is hell. But we were thinking about a certain structure with different people, and you always have to change that, and then it all flies out the window, and you're back to the block where you have no break. You just have to keep going, and you have no time to really sort everything out to the detail, and just it's one hell of a mess. So we try to just stick with a philosophy and hope that that kind of worked and made the in-game leader kind of fit our style more than them taking over. So that's, but with Emmy, we've been gradually trying to introduce more of his thinking into it, but there's obviously a little bit of clashing there as well. It's not going to be perfect from the start, which we can see from the results that we've had.
Sure. Okay. So
But I mean,
yeah.
you're talking about results though, but like throughout it all, it was actually kind of okay considering what was happening in the team. You know, you're changing in-game leaders left and right. You don't even know if you're gonna stick with them in the long run, right? But
Yeah.
like the results weren't that bad during all that time.
No, not at all. But I mean, it's if I give you 6 months more in a team that has a core of 5, and then we are 6 months behind. That's basically the reality, right?
Right.
We have to play catch up, and that's where we are, and that's you know, where we have to work harder and try to figure out how we can get those extra percentages up there to actually compete.
I have actually a question. When you had all of these different in-game leaders, it was chrisj, it was Crystal, no, not Crystal before, but then Sunny was in for a bit, then Emmy out. Not the right order, but doesn't matter. Did all of them have access to your strat book? Like, how did that work? Just with all of this
Okay.
talk about Funden and this, I'm just
They-
curious
they-
how it worked.
Yeah, they all had access to it.
So were you afraid that someone leaves, like chrisj goes back to Mouse Sports? Is he going to leak your strats next time you play?
We don't care.
Is your strat book so shit that you don't care or what?
No, but basically our strat book is like half filled in. It's not everything there. Some of it is in like personal documents that's not like even uploaded, and we just talk about what we wrote down. But it's basically been, since we've been so sloppy with creating it, because we wanted a structure, we created a structure, but it's also because of this time period that we had that we didn't really update it, because some things we don't really wanted to use, and some things you just we never used again. So it's kind of been a little bit of us being lazy not updating it since before, but also because of the whole situation kind of guided us that way.
Wait, no, you didn't get anything out of that, Prof. You didn't get anything you can use.
No, it was just about the question. The answer doesn't even matter.
Yeah. All right. So, unfortunately, right, because you guys were unable to qualify for IEM Cologne, and then you guys just missed out on EPL, right? Were you next in line after fours?
No, Entropic was.
Oh, but Entropic had already qualified, right? Because they qualified through ESEA. Yeah.
Well, I thought of Cologne now. I think.
Well, there's okay. So with Cologne, you were a couple off, but with EPL, it must have been pretty damn close. I don't even know exactly. Fours, well, I don't even know where they were in ESL's rankings at that point. But either way, right? They have 2 massive events, and you guys had a lot of time, right, to kind of sit and see those events going. And they're events that I think a lot of people would say that FPX should or could be at to compete, right? You're one of those teams that is threatening, but we don't get to see you at the bigger events, at least in recent times, all that often, right? So was watching those, like, for you guys to see where some of the dark horse or underdog teams were at, was that pretty like frustrating to know that, or to think that you could go there and probably do better than a lot of those names?
No, to be honest, I don't think we necessarily deserved an invite to either. Because we've been in a really unstable. Obviously it would have been nice, and it would have been like motivating to have those invites, but if we think from a more realistic standpoint, I don't even think we were ready to really compete in those for this period, because I think we all had extra stress, just not realizing that the goals that we set out, we wouldn't reach them, considering this whole situation we just talked about. And we took a little bit of extra break because of it, and in the players break, because I felt like it was needed for the players to get some extra rest from all the stresses of not knowing who is gonna be even leading the team or this and that, and still working, quite long hours, and just by rebuilding the same thing over and over again, that you just went on for 2 weeks with another IGL, and then the next one comes and you repeat the same thing. It can be quite frustrating. So we just took that decision, and then right now, I mean, I don't think we're in the best place as a team, but we're still improving, and that's the most important, because our main goal is obviously the major.
Okay, so with the main goal being the major, is there anything, because for those people who aren't aware, and correct me if I'm wrong, Prof or Striker here, or Devilwalk, but FPX got into Counter-Strike because they were a Flashpoint team, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they probably dodged a bullet by not getting heroic, right? That whole thing kind of fell apart right at the last minute. Well, yeah, you could look at it either way. Depends on the outcome. Yeah, you're right. But if we look at the situation that you're in with FPX, like, are they happy with where the team? Well, they probably want the team to be doing better, right? But are they giving you the time to do that? Are they understanding that the contract stuff with chrisj has hampered the progression? Like, is everything cool in that sense?
I mean, I think so. I personally don't have like any direct contact with the, I guess, senior management. My contact person is Petsa, who's GM here in Europe. So from our perspective, I mean, he understands us and the situation that we've been in. And I mean, we're still all here, so I guess that's a good sign.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the
To
thing.
be
right?
honest, yeah, to be honest, I just thought that this was a good opportunity for Devilwalk to kind of shit on all of the ESL invites and all of this, the circuit as it is. You don't get invited to Cologne because you miss off like 5 points, because
Wow,
some teams play Blast and they get extra points, and they
the
just
Blast event thing in ESL's ranking is just pure bullshit.
yeah,
In my opinion. Because if you win the group stage, first of all, you will get more points than winning a DreamHack Open, winning a Blast group stage. That's number one. Number two is that you get 4 months for free. Like the rating never drops, right?
Non-decade, yeah.
Non-decade for 4 months, which all other events are 3 months. With the decay for all those 3 months.
Essentially, because
So
of the group
Blast
stage
gets
is
4 months for free, and then 3 months after with decay, which in total is 7 months. So in the Cologne, for example, OG wouldn't have gotten invited, and Tropic would have without those decay points, if the decay point were there.
Yeah.
And that's reality. And
to explain to people, this is because the group stage is not considered like a separate event. It's considered a part of the other event, and then it decays only when the whole event finishes, right? When the finals finish, which is kind of a flaw in the ranking.
But if you play Blast event, you have 3 points for 7 months compared to the rest.
Yeah, so then you have that stacking on, so you lose the Cologne invite because of some of these things. Not only, of course, you could have played better, had more points, being number one in the world.
For sure.
But it's kind of frustrating, right? And then you don't get to play Cologne. So then since you don't play Cologne, you can't get more points to then qualify for EPL. So you're just like, missed everything, and now I'm a 3-month break, which is kind of.
And then, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a partner team and you drop out a group 2 times without any wins. You're still gonna be there the 3rd time. So.
Yeah, of course.
So okay, so with this Blast situation, Devil, what would you suggest they do for ESL to fix it in their rankings? Have you given that a thought?
Yeah, I mean, you will just have to treat them as separate events. If the event is not ongoing throughout let's say a month's period, let's say that.
Yeah.
As if the event is above a month, decay the points.
Yeah, okay, that seems like a pretty safe way to deal with things, right? Seems
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
simple solution.
Seems fair.
Yeah, I mean, I was
Yeah.
pretty. I would don't want to say hands on, but like Xtrfy came to me with this to try to like understand what the fucking deal with the ranking is, because they obviously were the ones who kind of missed out on a slot
Yeah,
in
they should
Cologne because of it.
definitely got
So
invited.
yeah, that was kind of like hands on with this, trying to figure out how it even works, and then I realized what Devilwalk is just saying is actually true. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me either, because you, as Devilwalk said, like you've proven something 3 months ago, but like now you're still getting the same amount of points the entire time until the finals end. So it's kind of, yeah, it's not ideal for sure.
That whole
Yeah.
thing though is really spicy though, right? Like obviously get rid of the length thing, but then at the same time they're going to get given points regardless.
Either way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
and
the
that's the
But
biggest
then,
problem.
then they should be getting the points at the end of the event and not before.
Yeah.
You
True.
can't have it both ways.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean,
gonna say, Prof?
it's an issue just in general with the teams that are ranked on like between number 15 and number 30 and the rankings.
tight.
It's so tight. Yeah, it's the smallest differences that make the difference. And then if you have instant invites, and that invite gives you even the smallest amount of points for finishing last, these teams are just going to be automatically propelled to play more events. I mean, to a degree, it happens in the HLTV ranking. I feel like less, but it still happens. Just because HLTV has more points overall, we take in more matches, more things into account than ESL. So I think it's a smaller issue, but in ESL, and it's a similar thing with the whole Xantares Eternal Fire thing,
that's
where they
also
got
a big
where they
issue.
got ranked number 22 or something based on Xantares' point coming over. But that's a different thing, but also tied to the low amount of points available for teams, that is just causing these issues where you can be a team that just has an invite to something that is tier 1. You're instantly jumping all over all of these endpoints and all of these teams that are trying very hard and proving themselves consistently that they're right there, right?
I think we also had a bit of an issue with, like, at one point wasn't Bad News Bears like rated like really quite high.
Yeah,
because of the
NA events, like the
ESEA
cash
cash
cups and
cups.
shits
Yeah.
and stuff, like we're way overrated.
I mean,
so.
they were also ranked higher than FPX for IEM Cologne.
That's fair.
Wow.
We need to give them opportunity. NA is dying, so okay, let's grant that, like, make a wish foundation
honestly,
for an NA team.
I'm not
right?
that against Bad News Bears getting that invite. I understand, like, their scene is in a really fucking shitty situation. It's like, when you see a Korean team coming over for an event, like,
Yeah.
no one's getting mad at that.
That is the U Asian team, yeah.
I mean, it is technically the same
I
thing
get it.
now.
Yeah.
You're
It's
right.
pretty marginalized of a region now, right? Like
Yeah.
there's one, I guess if we count Furia, right? There's two teams from the region. I don't think are we counting EG anymore? Like, are they European now? What are we doing with them? Are they
No,
still
that's
North
just-
American?
but they're not relevant almost. So
That's true. Yeah, all right, we'll forget about them. Yeah,
Striker smiling.
I just concur, man.
I think, yeah, that's one of the things, right? It's just we have Europe and then we have just small regions around the rest of the world. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. I've been through this before. We had a whole thing which was 1.6 versus Source, and then CGS came around, and then we all went to Source, and the Europeans all stayed in 1.6, and that's kind of how it went for a year or two, and then everything worked itself out. So I don't know.
Worked itself out is a nice way to put it.
Oh,
It's
it did.
interesting.
Yeah, we
I
had
mean-
a global financial crisis. The CGS went under. Scott Valencia stole $1 million, and I woke up and one day I didn't have a job. So it worked itself out. You know what I mean?
Right.
But Chad,
Now
one
here-
question. You must have actually gotten some hate, or at least experienced some kind of similar pressure to what maybe Bad News Bears were experiencing during a time when you got invites for IEM. I don't know if the talk was negative back then or if it was positive.
In the very, very beginning, right? Because it was one of
Yeah.
the super early majors, right?
Yeah.
That we got invites. I think it was the first and the second, right? Well, the second and the third, right?
Yeah.
The first one we went to on our own dime, right? We followed you guys because
Yeah,
we went
we
to
went to
MSI Beat
DreamHack.
It, yeah, and then we went to BOC.
Yeah.
But we had already like kind of globally made a bit of a like name for ourselves at MSI Beat It, so we got invited to EMS one Katowice.
Yeah.
And then from there we got invited to the next one as well because we were like the only team known from the region. But then after that we had to qualify for all the shit. Nobody said anything, right? At least
There was
I
no
wasn't
like
paying
buzz
attention to it.
about
Nah.
negativity about it, or like for example, like Bad News Bears obviously is getting a lot of flack
Yeah.
from what I've seen. for
I think the
receiving
problem-
that kind of invite.
I think the problem with them is that they, even though they do sometimes get to play against these teams, they never prove it that they're better than them, right? So that's, I guess, the problem that people have mostly. Like with Renegades, it wasn't really the case. Like they got to
Yeah.
play one
We'll
event
get
in
an
like
upset wins.
6 months or some shit.
Yeah,
Well,
I
Bad
mean,
News Bears, you at least see against the NA teams playing once in a while, and they're not super competitive against those. So I guess that's the problem.
The NA teams didn't like it very much when we moved to North America and we got a spot in Pro League.
Yeah, right.
They really didn't like that.
Yeah.
They really didn't like that, and then we beat most of them. So it's like
get good.
yeah, it's like, what are you complaining about? You can't, if you can't beat a bunch of fucking noobs from Australia, what are you complaining about? Like,
Yeah.
anyway, let's get back into the hot seat. We kind of got. I said it was going to be more conversational this evening. Now, Prof, and I want no disrespect to Devilwalk. I apologize greatly, but
All
Prof,
right.
you've got here losses to Mad Lions, Dignitas, and Skade. Now, I don't know when these matches happened. They weren't
recent.
on my radar.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, if they're recent,
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
well-
after the break, they were playing. They played the qualifier for the qualifier for the qualifier for
See,
the
this is what's
qualifier
confusing
for Blast.
with Blast.
Qualifier for the qualifier for Blast, which is the Fantasy Expo thing, which is like best of ones into best of three playoffs. They lost to
Okay.
Mad Lions there, got eliminated, so they're not playing in the showdown.
Was the
And then
final.
in the finals, okay. And then the other things were in the Pinnacle Cup, right, or something like that. Some
Yeah,
of these
the
in
Swiss
stage. Yeah.
But I can explain what
Okay.
the thought process was. So
Okay.
we got invited, first of all, to the playoffs, but we declined that invite and said that we wanted to play Swiss. Now, this is entirely my responsibility
Okay.
because I said that I want to play Swiss because I want us to get into match tempo. I
mean,
want
that
us
makes
to get
sense.
punished. I want us to play as much as possible. I want to see how people adjust against the new stuff that we have added, and I want to be able to review it later. And that is like one step in our path to securing a major spot.
So you got
That's
punished.
my-
the long play.
Yes,
Okay.
You got punished.
and I'm fine with getting punished. That was the whole plan from the start, anyways, because we wanted to do limited prep against the opponents and just play.
Okay. Okay.
So
So-
I can see the idea. Obviously, like there's risks involved in that because like if you get invited to the playoffs,
Ah,
maybe you
but
just play one series and beat
Gotta
them,
risk
and
it
you
to
get
win
them.
it.
I got it. I understand the point. I wouldn't have done it in your position just because of how little you play and how few opportunities you get to like climb the rankings, which snowballs into more invites and stuff like that. But
If the
I
main
understand
goal
the
is the
point.
major, then the main goal is the major. I don't
Sure.
give a fuck about anything else.
to be honest, they have a spot at IEM Fall because of the RMR
Right.
points. So you're going to be playing one event that is relevant soon. So I guess
Yes.
everything is focused towards that event right now.
Okay.
Okay.
It doesn't excuse the performance. Don't take it to like we're not just scruffing it off like this is not a bad sign. This is definitely a bad sign. But at the end of the day, it's the wake up call we need because you can't be going into like let's say a 6-7 month period without playing an official game and expect you to qualify for a major. Like that's insanity. Like I can't see any point in that.
I kind of get the boat that you're in right now, though. I think it's the same as the Extreme boat, right? Like the only thing, like everything else, is just background noise, right?
Yeah.
It's just it's trying to fine tune it until the day is there, and then that's that we qualify for the major or we don't, right? Like I suppose with the direction that you're going with all of this, like if you're putting so much on the line for that, is that has to be.
Very important.
I'm not gonna pussyfoot around it. Is this the point where it's like, okay, well, if we don't qualify for the major, now we have to reconsider the way that this team is? Like, is that like the stakes of this shit, or is it maybe not that far?
I mean, it's impossible to say. Like, it all depends on how things develop and how we actually play. But there's definitely, a risk that if we're performing like this and we're not performing with our all-in ace up the sleeve card towards the major and it doesn't work out, then obviously, something needs to change. The approach, whatever it is, obviously, like we cannot be going all in for a tournament and not succeeding at it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
That's fair enough. Yeah. Okay. That kind of goes, I guess, into the expectations for the new season, right? It's major or bust, right? And then evaluate from there, right? That seems to be the way it's going. I guess we could probably go. We already
It's
spoke.
okay. I have one thing to ask, just because you obviously haven't really gotten the chance to play against the big teams, right, for a pretty long time. Like but I might be wrong in this, but like every time I remember you guys having the chance to do so,
We're doing
you
pretty
actually
well.
do well.
Yes.
So like once you actually do play like the teams that you maybe see a lot or like learn from a lot and stuff like that, you tend to do better than when you play against some of these like lower tier teams. So yeah, I don't even know if there's a question to be asked in this. So it's just
I
like
can answer it even if there isn't one.
go ahead.
So basically, from our point of view, we're trying to play a very methodical, reactive way of CS. Now, it's very hard to do so when the opponent don't know how to play CS. Like, okay, that it's not true in all cases, but it's like generally in the context of the top tier scene, right? You're playing the smartest players, they're making the best decisions, they're doing this and that, and you're analyzing from that perspective. And then when you're playing someone that is playing a little bit more gut feeling, maybe theoretical incorrect Counter-Strike, things can go south.
I get by myself, team.
Yeah, don't worry, we'll get to them soon. All right, so
I mean that actually makes sense. Honestly,
no, it does. But Prof, this is the problem. Everybody is trapped in that level, right?
Yeah.
Right. There's the teams who are the partner teams, and then you have the Gambits and the Heroics, and the ones who have been able to bubble up from that, right? And then you have everybody else is in the washing machine of this tier 4 to cusp of tier 2 type conversation that you're having, right? Where and this is what we hear from a lot of teams, right? These qualifiers with like 512 teams or some shit, and it's like you're playing so many games in a day, and you're playing this type of Counter-Strike, and it is literally down to maybe a couple of rounds, and some guy decided to push a smoke in a situation where no one would ever fucking push a smoke, right?
Yeah.
How are you meant to get better from that type of Counter-Strike? Is it honestly just like we play against this until we understand like we need to be ready for everything?
No, but it's about, I think it's many things. Like you have to, first of all, you have to identify what team you're playing. Like that's step one.
Okay. Are the lights on or are the lights off? Okay.
Yes,
Yep.
like you have to do this. And then how do you adjust if you're playing against a lights off team or lights on team? Like what is the difference? What are we taking more risk? Are we taking less risks? Are we like you have to define these things, and without getting into the scenario in a very long time, it's impossible to do so. And I know, when we're going to this RMR event, we're gonna play both types of teams. We're gonna play because it's a 24-team tournament, I think.
Yep.
Where obviously there's going to be 12 slots from the close qualifiers, and everyone is not going to be a tier 1 team. That's for sure. And basically, we need to be able to adapt to both situations, because it's really frustrating to play against sometimes, but it's the frustration that kills you. It's not the actual like losing one round. It's you becoming frustrated because you're playing this style, instead of focusing on actual problem solving and identifying the type of team you're playing, how they would react as a group or individuals. If they always go for peaks, then we have to play like they always go for peaks. We have to get into that deathmatch mode. We have to be able to take a little bit more risk, play less smart, because at the end of the day, the better player is going to win. If both players are playing less smart and more risky, the better player will win most of the times. And therefore, you will be able to grind out the rounds that you need against these types of teams. Whilst playing smart, they will take the gaps, they will find the gaps somewhere, somehow. The timing will fuck you. And that is so frustrating to play against.
What is the team that you had the most frustrating time playing against? Or like maybe not you,
Like
but
practice?
as a team. Or whatever, right?
I think FaZe.
FaZe?
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why so?
Are they a lights on or a lights off team?
They're both.
Okay.
I guess that must be the most frustrating for sure.
No, but they're difficult to play against, especially when they're on CT side, because they're very proactive. They're almost like over proactive. So they constantly make info plays. It's not, at 50 seconds, let's make an info play to see if they group or something. It's like, bam, nothing there. Let's go there. Bam, go there. Bam. They're constantly making moves, and it's almost better to just let them have space than actually challenging for that space sometimes, which is a little bit reverse because of how active they are on the map.
Okay. All right.
It's weird.
Yeah, the position you are in seems weird, right? Because when you're in that scenario I was explaining before, it's like where you want to go, but it's not easy to get there. Like
exactly.
It's like being. Let me give an analogy for people who maybe have ever been in the ocean. There's such things as a rip. Oh shit! I hit the mic. This is bad. Lucas said, "Don't do this." All right.
It was fine.
Such things as a rip in the ocean, and that is where the water is churning up and it's going to suck you out to sea. So you're right there. You just want to paddle to the beach, but it's dragging you the other way. So that basically is what the Pinnacle Cup is doing to you. It's dragging you out to sea, and soon a boat's going to have to come and save you, Devilwalk. Are you that boat?
I hope to be that boat.
Okay, well that can segue us nicely into your approach to coaching the current roster. You see what I did there, Prof?
That's good.
Amazing.
You see what I did there?
Amazing.
You don't get that kind of shit out of me every day of the week.
No, you're just like riding the wave of the conversation and just doing like I don't know any tricks in surfing, like a corkscrew or some shit.
Yeah.
Is that works in surfing as well?
I don't know. I don't actually know that. You get pitted in the green room. That's when you're in the barrel of the wave.
You say bruh a lot.
Yeah, you do, and you give them a couple of these. Yeah. But also, while on the topic of the ocean and waves, Valve are going to add surfing to the game. Are we all thinking that?
Oh, so it's going to be another Scout Knives.
You reckon?
Yeah,
it'll be a game mode like that, right?
Terrible game mode.
They'll butcher it. You reckon they'll butcher it?
For sure.
I was excited for some in Counter-Strike surfing because I couldn't do that any other way. All right, let's keep this one going because I'm fucking.
Let's just say they will not turn on like accelerate as it should be.
Maybe they will. Maybe they'll advise. They might. We'll have faith. We have to have faith, guys. Okay. That's the only thing that gets us through these days. All right, so coaching the team the way it is right now, Devilwalk. So you've had a longer lead time. We've just heard from you that you threw the boys. That you literally just had this team. You just gave birth to them, and then you threw them out in the ocean into the rip, right? Yeah. And they can't swim. They've forgotten how to swim, right? And now you're teaching them how to swim again.
Now I'm paddling away.
Yeah, well, you want to make sure that they remember, how to do the egg beater. The egg beater is the one to stay in one place, or the doggy paddle to go in a direction. You got freestyle, you got backstroke, you got all the different strokes. You want to make sure that they remember all those strokes. But in terms of you as a coach and the way that you're coaching this team, you've been on this journey now for some time, right? You've been doing this whole bit and bob for a long time now. The way that you're coaching the team now, how much does that differ from, let's say, a year ago? Like, does that change much? You're still doing the same style as things had to chop and change?
I think I'm at a point where I think I need to change.
Okay.
To get the best out of, because for me, it's always been a close relationship with the in-game leader. And obviously I had my way of working with Crystal for quite some time. And I think that my approach need to change a little bit with Emmy. But I mean, in terms of like just laying it out there, flat is just like, I think the biggest problems we have are mental, but that's also the biggest.
The hardest to fix.
I think that's the biggest positive I have as a coach is the mental stuff. So I think in that sense I fit very well into the team, and I think a lot about it and how to make sure that everyone is comfortable and feel good, and are playing with the right teammates where they have synergy together and stuff like that. So that's how I generally view it.
Is there for like an up and coming coach that is watching this, is there like one small like tip or like a trick that you have up your sleeve to kind of have these things flow nicely, or like cruise. What's a good surfing analogy? I don't know, but to make this mental part between players good. Do you have like one example that's maybe some people can use?
I mean, it depends on what scenario. Sometimes, for example, I view like focus as something that needs to be in the middle. It shouldn't ever be at the top. Because like if you're focused on something and you're fully focused on that, nothing else will enter your brain. Like you've given zero gap for anyone else to come in with anything or stuff like that. So sometimes people can be over focused, and I can notice that. And sometimes the best thing you can do is actually be silly and make a joke or make a fool out of yourself, or like, and they're like, what the fuck? And they drop that level of focus a little bit, or get relaxed or laugh, or which I think is very good. Personally, I might be completely talking out of my ass. I'm not an expert on psychology or anything, but I think it's still one of my stronger attributes.
I think you're an expert on coaching so far. You've been coaching for like 6 years during different eras from a lot of different players. So I think you have some validity to what you're saying. I think there is, at least.
Relaxed. I mean, you're supposed to be focused, but that doesn't mean tense. You need to be relaxed and focused.
Okay.
And everyone has different focus levels. It's not the same for everyone. I want to point that out. Some really need to be at a higher one, and some don't. But it's finding each individual level and trying to get them to that point and identifying it. If someone isn't listening to what someone else is saying, that usually means over focused.
Okay. Who's the most focused member of FPX?
Emmy.
Emmy? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I thought it probably.
You think the in-game leader is not the most focused?
Well, I don't know. Like there's been some clouding.
Well, they have
their
their focus split a lot, so
Yeah.
I guess
They're usually over focused.
All right. Okay, boys. Here's the question I got for Striker and Prof right now before we move on. Do you have any other questions right now for Devilwalk, or do we want to get into who wants to be a skinionaire? See how many skins you can win.
Let's go.
This is what I'm nervous about.
This is going to be a lot of fun. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Jocks put the bar too high.
He did nail it. Now, this is who wants to be a skinionaire. We've taken inspiration from no other game shows ever in the history of game shows. It's a completely original name that we've come up with ourselves. And
concept.
And Lucas, he is the mastermind behind all of this here. Now, he's getting everything ready before we get Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire underway tonight. But the link's coming on now. What I need to mention is this is made possible by Bitskins. And basically what happens here is Devilwalk is going to answer 5 questions. Each question that he gets correct will move the arrow up a tier. Each tier is a different skin level, right? We got 50 cents, $2.50, $7.50, $15, and $50. Now, if Devilwalk gets all of them right, one of you lucky little buggers in the chat will be winning a $50 skin. If he doesn't, he only gets one right, you get a 50-cent skin. You guys understand how this works? All right, so we're ready and raring to go. What do they need to type in chat, Lucas, if they want to win?
What do I need to do? Do I need to click some answer in this link? Or
yeah. So what's going to happen is, Lucas, put question number 1 up right now. I'm going to read this out, and then you click the answer.
All right.
Question 1. Who was the first player to die to refresh in his 1v5 against Liquid? Jesus. Was it A, Elige, B, Fallen, or C, Grim?
It's either Elige or Fallen, because one of those would be the first rotate. Staff and Stewie was on B. Grim was the last one.
Who was holding the angle?
I want to give him this one, Prof.
I thought this was easy.
Can I give him this one?
Not easy.
I think Fallen.
All right, lock it in.
Maybe I just watched it too many times.
It was Fallen.
Was
Fallen is correct. One
Well, he
correct.
was second, right? He was like the sneaky guy who came out of the smoke.
Yeah, that was after they killed everybody with orbs. All right. Question 2. Which team didn't make the IEM Fall Closed qualifier? Havu, Saw, or LDLC?
Havu.
I think
He's
I
locked
might
this
have
in
actually fucked this up, to be
He's
honest.
locked it in quite quickly
I
here.
might have,
There's
I might-
multiple teams who didn't.
I think
I-
2 teams didn't.
Well,
Yeah,
this is
LDPL,
nice.
don't know.
You're giving
This
a.
is- this
But
is-
how
okay.
did Javi make it?
Havo didn't make it. I'm
Okay,
pretty-
so
no,
he's
Havo didn't.
right.
This is correct. This is correct.
Lucas, are we able to manually move the arrow here? There we go. That's what we're talking about. We can
backup,
rig
that's-
this shit.
yeah.
All right, question 3.
I have a
We
feeling
just
my
made it more
teams.
easy.
I just knew that Javi didn't make it.
This is, we just made
Oh,
it
dear.
easier. Let's go.
All right, question 3. Coming in thick and hot here. Devilwalk 1 DreamHack Winter.
Oh.
Simple. This is a little cheeky one here.
Yeah. What do you think about this one?
I think I know
This
the
is
answer to this one,
It's a
he
new
must
take.
he must have won one. I think
But
it's
which
a one.
one? When?
That doesn't matter. I think it's one.
Are you going with one?
too. One has been
Yeah.
locked in, and he is correct. It was
is one.
just after Electronic had joined the team. I believe it was
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
late 2018. Zeus and Edward were still there with Flame Dogger.
And this is even 2017, maybe.
Was it
I think it's-
2017?
He's 17 already. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Fuck,
Right.
time's gone really quick. All right, that's 3 correct so far. 2 more to go now to that $50 skin, ladies and gentlemen. Question number 4. The highest rated player at EPL, not called s1mple or Zywoo, was
Hobbit
Queserato
or Kiserato? I think Kiserato and
Refresh.
locking it in.
or
He's locking it in
Hobbit.
so fast.
All right, well, it was
And
right.
he is correct.
He nailed it. Queserato, even with the coach playing, was fucking phenomenal. He was great. Maybe
He's
there's just more
lucky-
kills for him to get.
He's in amazing form recently. So
Maybe he knew coldzera was coming and he wanted to play a little bit more special. All right. Up next, question 5. This is for all the marbles,
There
ladies
you
and gentlemen,
go.
boys and girls. $50 skin on the line here. Question 5. The CS 1.6 statistics on HLTV. What rating did Emmy average over 114 maps? And it feels like Devilwalk's already locked this one in at over 1.15.
Yeah.
So convinced.
Okay. And he's right. He's
Do you know
done
the
it.
exact number?
I think it's 123 or 4.
It's 121.
Ah, fuck.
Either way, he got it right.
So he's
It was over 120 at least. I knew that.
You've just won, for the people at home, one lucky winner is going to win a $50 skin thanks to Bitskins and, well, moreover, Devilwalk for getting all the questions right. So,
I knew Emmy was one of the best Serbian players in 1.6. So
I mean, he was. There was a lot of Serbian lands though on HLTV back then. Just looking at the stats, so it was a bit easier to farm rating. It's not like he was like get right level. That just rating shows.
Yeah.
But he was pretty good at least there.
okay. Well, the winner of the skin is Bezadme, Behzadme. Congratulations, you've won the skin. I think somebody will reach out to you. I it's not that I think, I know. Lucas, the wonderful producer, will reach out to you. So, yeah, just keep your eyes out for that. So that was great. That was the Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire segment with Devilwalk, and he's got them all right. So is that 2 now, Striker? Did Shock get them all right as well?
yeah, he did. I was
Yep.
watching the show. I can confirm.
Yeah.
When I
And
cheated, was that
Devilwalk
for
didn't
Smear?
he didn't need help either. I helped Shocks.
That's right, you did too. All right, well, the first without assistance.
Devilwalk 1, Skinionaire, simple 0.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
okay,
is
well, there
true.
you go. There's a new HLTV account. Someone get on it. Make it right now. And then, yeah, all right. Lucas, let's get into the recent news. Roll the bumper.
The Xtrfy M42 RGB, what a fun mouse with 5 colorways, lightweight frame at just 59 grams with the swappable backplate to suit your grip style, the sensor, the easy core, the smooth skates, and driverless control for RGB and DPI is why you should check out the M42 RGB down below.
Fist bumps go to the teammates.
I wanna see you falling fast. Win the round. Win the game.
Parimatch, your esports teammate. Buy and sell your skins now. Easy, fast, and safe. The best skin site. Credit card deposits and withdrawals. Instant cash out methods. Get the best deals. Quick, simple, reliable. Bitskins.com.
All right, we're back. Thanks for bearing with us. And we're getting straight into the recent news. Number one off the ranks here. Apparently, when I smirked at Striker the other week after he suggested coldzera to complexity, the man was right. Striker, how do you feel?
It's pretty good. I have to say I cheated a little bit because I heard something in the background that there was some interest there. So that was kind of like partly what I based it on. Like he was like the biggest name who's on the market, so it's not like it was complete like out of left field or anything like that. But I did hear something that there was some interest there even before that. So
all right. Well, I've assembled my tribunal here this evening. We have Prof and Devilwalk coming in tonight to oversee this case. As you've heard from the defendant's mouth himself, Prof and Devilwalk, he just said he cheated. How do you guys rule on this whole situation?
Integrity have clearly
Of the
been,
podcast is in the bin.
Yeah.
You cannot just talk to people behind the scenes and have information.
I
and
want to
then
push for
imply
5 years.
it's inside information. Yeah.
Well, I
inside
think you should give 2 years, and if he wants to appeal, give him 5.
Well, you're the tribunal. He already got 2. This is all right. Anyway, that was our role play of the Hoodin case. Everybody, I'm sure you'll be able to keep your eyes out for that. It'll be airing on YouTube no time ever. All right. So, Striker, you heard this in the background. It turns out to be true, right? It comes through. I want to ask you this question, and it's a straightforward kind of question. I want a yes or no, but then I want you to elaborate after.
Sure.
So give me the yes or the no, and then you can give me your rationale.
Go ahead.
Is this a good choice?
No.
Okay. Now give me your rationale.
Like you know what it is. Like we talked about it before. Like because like the role clash is insane. Like I don't know how they're gonna make this work. I don't like the fact that they did get him despite all this makes me think like there must be a plan, right? Like they must have some sort of a way to fix this because there's no way BlameF, JKS, and coldzera can be on the same team the way that they've been playing so far. Like there's just no way. So that's my take on it. Like I was so surprised when I first heard it, and that like obviously when I brought it up to you, you were just about as surprised as that being a possibility. So like there must be some way. Maybe BlameF just wants to, I don't know, go more into an entry position or something like that, be a little bit more proactive and let like coldzera and JKS take more of the passive positions, right? But
what if none of them bait? What if all of them just when they're in a position that makes more? No, but like
let's just make a game plan that the lurks get the entries and the entries then go.
No one will know what's going on. No one will have any idea what's going on at any point. But
triple hard lurk.
I wanna pose, right? Because we all see the fundamental flaw with this decision, right? And I assume that Peacemaker and his influence probably had a lot to do with it, right? I would say. We also know Complexity has a history of having Brazilians in them in the past. If you guys go all the way back to 1.6, Fallen was once upon a time. I want to throw this one to you here, Prof, just quickly. And I kind of want to repackage this, and I want to sell this to you, and then you tell me if you think that it's a reasonable way to think about things, or if I'm living in a dream world.
Okay.
So I think for Complexity, this is a terrible idea, but I think for coldzera, it's a good idea. Because it's a temporary maneuver, right? As far as it's being sold right now, it's temporary. And he's had a significant time away from the game, right? Where he's now been able to sit back, relax, find that he's still hungry to play, and maybe start watching Counter-Strike again to get up to date with the current meta in a similar vein into what Fallen said in an interview with you guys not long ago, right? Where he thought he had fallen out of the meta, right? So if coldzera now in this team gets to use it as a platform to show what type of player he can be and not just reliant on Taco, which he was for the majority of his career when he was good, is that logic that I could sell you?
I think it's difficult in this team considering how constrained it is with all of the other players on it. It's not like now he can just do whatever the fuck he wants. It's going to be very difficult for him to fit in. So it's going to be, you have to do this, and if you can't do this, then it's not going to work. It's going to be pretty awful. Although I don't know how they plan to introduce him. Did they plan to just give him free reins to play whatever? I think that would be kind of disrespectful to the other players on the team. I honestly think it's a interesting temporary approach just because of the name value, and it could be amazing. but it's going to be very hard to figure out right now. And at the same time, it could be a move that simply replaces someone else on the team later
in the
on,
future.
such as maybe JKS. Maybe.
I have
so
two
yeah.
questions.
Okay.
I think that, okay, firstly, I think right now we're only discussing T side, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mostly.
Yeah, CT
But
side.
not even. But BlameF also plays a lot of the star positions on like
Yeah,
the
he played.
rotator.
But coldzera can play anchor, right? JKS can play anchor.
Yeah.
You have BlameF on rotation, and you have Poison usually somewhere floating
yeah,
with who is S-Tag is
Yeah.
probably a supportive element to one of the anchors as well. So I think it actually makes a lot of sense on CT sides. I don't see any clashing on CT side. I think
It
the
did
CT
before on
sides.
CT sides too, as well, though, right? With config JKS, BlameF, it made sense on CT sides there too. It's just
Maybe
the
on
T side.
some maps, maybe Overpass could be one of those maps. No, it depends. But I think honestly, the way that Complexity is playing, I think they're playing like very heavy anti-strat, where the, let's say, original rules of Counter-Strike doesn't really apply anyways.
Okay.
Okay.
Whilst if you think on a default basis, Counter-Strike, where you have those original roles and they are creative in their own spaces and stuff, it doesn't really make sense, right? But if you actually look at Complexity as a team, they play pretty heavy anti-strat.
Yeah.
But isn't then that something they want to move away from long term with a signing like coldzera? Like, it's not. I think so far we've realized that doesn't really work to become like a top 5 title contender consistently. It worked for them a short period of time, which was also a time when a lot of other teams were in flux. We didn't.
They also struggled against tier 2, tier 3 teams.
That's also a thing. So
I mean, they won a bunch of those small tournaments. To be fair, like that's
In the
kind of
early
how
days,
they
right?
started. So it's not like, yeah.
I don't know. I'm not convinced. I'm really not convinced about this move. I honestly almost think that short term, the results playing with NATO Sapphics would have been better than what they're going to be with S5. It's a very bold prediction from me.
Oh,
I mean,
to be fair, like they did pretty okay with
yeah,
NATO.
they did better than expected. They made it to the playoffs, right? Okay.
Well,
okay.
I mean, okay.
Like
I can see
you can't say that. Like, Cold is a rifler, NATO is an AWPer.
Yeah, but he did
But NATO did okay statistically. Like he did this.
I think that Cold will do a lot better.
This
is not to take flag from NATO or anything like that.
This is not saying that Cold individually isn't gonna have better stats in NATO. I'm just saying as a team that they could perform better. We can't compare it because we are not in like viewing two different realities where one is with NATO Sapphics, one with coldzera. So we'll never know. But it's just my feeling that the team would function better with someone that's just going to do whatever the fuck you want. Whatever you tell him, he's going to be happy that he's even there in the room with you guys. And having coldzera, who, I mean, we saw in FaZe that it didn't really work out this last iteration with Twists and Kerrigan, that he didn't feel like that works for him. So he left. I don't see how this is going to work with. It has to be what Striker said for me, that BlameF becomes a super aggro guy that he kind of was in the last event, but even with that,
can't coldzera do that?
I don't see it.
Historically,
I don't see
has
it.
he? Like
that's never
thing,
done
right?
it. Yeah.
So he could. That's why I was selling the fact that he could reinvent. I think he can too. I think if he reinvents himself, right? I think he still has a lot of experience as an individual, right?
Look, it would make sense just because. Yeah, it would make sense just because, like, if Complexity come to him and say, "Okay, this is what we need you to do. Are you that guy?" I could see coldzera saying, "Yeah, fuck it, I'm that guy." Like I could.
But it doesn't mean he'll actually do it.
No, it doesn't.
Sure. I'm not saying that he necessarily will feel comfortable doing it. But
I know.
I'm just saying
I
he seems like the
lot
type of
of
personality.
CS players will just say, "Yeah, I can IGL," and then like 2 weeks later, they're like, "Oh fuck, this."
I mean, that's the
headache.
KRB FaZe situation. They asked him, "Can you do this? Can you be
changed within 2 weeks?"
And then they realized he can't do it. He tried, it didn't work.
Yeah, so that's like personality-wise, I can see coldzera saying, "Fuck it, I can do this. I can just completely reinvent myself." play the complete opposite role that I've played so far. I can see him thinking that. Whether he's actually going to be comfortable doing it, like who the fuck knows, right? Like he's never done it before. So that's the gripe I have with it, just because of how mega aggressive config is, and like essentially 1-to-1 replacing him with coldzera. Like that's not the same.
Okay,
like they're going to
okay,
have to
yeah.
change a lot.
But this is
least-
obviously like a band-aid kind of
Yeah, of course.
situation.
I'm just saying like that they basically have 3 very passive players, even S-Attack if you look at it, and then you bring a 4th one in, and then you just have Poison as kind of like a semi-aggressive opera, right?
Hit and miss opera at the moment.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I just don't see it in terms of like the aggression balance working out, just because of that kind of like those 4 players being in the same team at the same time,
But
especially
okay.
on T side for sure. Yeah.
What would the effect be in your opinion? Let's I'm just looking at the ranking here. Okay, they're ranked 16 right now.
Okay.
Do you think with the addition of coldzera they could reach a top 10, or will they drop out of top 20? Where in this where do you see the direction heading?
Ooh.
Let me just say what they have to play. They have just the IEM Fall, or they have
Yeah.
blast groups, IEM Fall.
But
That's it for
because
now.
of blast groups when they go up in the ranking, even if they
Of
come
course
last?
they would.
Yeah. So right, let's say they go up because they get to play in an event that only 12 teams get to play in.
You have to see if the other teams are blast event teams.
I don't see
which
them.
group are they in? I forgot.
I don't see them breaking top 10 before
It's same.
before
Alright.
the major. Let's say
They're
I
going to
don't
go
see
down
that.
before they go up. They could go up. They could go higher than 16, but I think that they're going to drop towards the cusp of the top 20
Go check
before they go up.
coldzera's ESL ranking points.
Oh, that's true too.
We're not talking
Fucking
about
hell.
that ranking though.
I don't know how much he could have, honestly. Probably not a lot, because like his time from phase was pretty rough. They didn't really gain
That's
much.
true. Yeah,
at
they
the
were pretty.
end.
Okay,
in dumps.
he's giving them 0.5 points.
There you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
he's giving them a lot of points. I think we're not talking about the right stuff here, though.
Now,
Devilwalk-
I'm sorry.
Who's
I'm-
gonna
That's okay.
Who's gonna have the more testosterone in the server? Blame or Cold?
No, it's probably Blame. Man.
Jesus
Lame.
Christ.
Probably Blame, man.
Blame?
That's
You reckon?
I would
easy
imagine, yeah.
choice.
That's gonna
Easy
be
choice.
some. That is gonna be like
That's
some
also
locker
another-
room shit.
That's also another factor to this. Like, obviously, coldzera is a big time player, right? Like, he has an ego. Like, even if he's coming into a new team, like at some point he's just gonna, like, sure, like the first maybe couple of weeks, first month or so, maybe it's like the honeymoon period. He's just gonna be kind of like sitting in his own place and stuff. But this is still coldzera we're talking about. Like, he's always been vocal on teams, so like this is also another factor that has to be taken in. And I'm not sure. Yeah, it was something that definitely didn't work in phase. Like, they've made references to that, where like they weren't particularly happy with that dynamic that that Cold had a lot of. This is kind of like me reading into the situation. It's not something that they said outright, but it seemed to me fairly obvious from certain interviews that coldzera was kind of like the dynamic with coldzera just didn't work in this aspect. So like hard to know how it's going to work in this team, because there's obviously like Blame F has a big personality there as well, and the game leader who's obviously going to have like the most say in how the team plays.
Did Cold leave? Right, Prof. Before you said he left, did he leave?
Yeah.
How it was put.
Yeah. I don't think he was.
I
He
think it was
wasn't happy there.
I think
it
it
was
was
kind of mutual at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's legit mutual. I don't think one side was like
I have
super-
one point
super benched.
to give coldzera, is that I actually think that he has great communication, and that's something that generally will just, like, not every person in Counter-Strike, top tier Counter-Strike, has that. So I believe that coldzera is a player and person that you can slot into any team, even if it's a little bit of mismatch roles, that he will still be able to contribute even if things aren't going well.
Yeah, I wonder about that. Like they've never really had like a mega second voice, right? Like maybe S-Attack now, but I'm not sure.
Even
I guess
still-
Config was that before, obviously, but like if you look at the team now, I'm not sure if S-Attack could be that, or if coldzera could become that. Like in this next month or two, he's obvious. Like I said, he's a vocal person. He's always going to have input, and he's always been in roles where like you need to give input to your team to be able to kind of like work off of each other, because you're like on different sides of the map and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm interested in personally.
coldzera last 12 months, 102 rating. Let's
Yeah.
end this now.
Yeah,
Move on.
I think right. We're gonna have to wait and see what happens with this. But it's an interesting conversation. It's an interesting roster change, and another one here that I know that Prof is extremely excited to talk about
Yes.
is
Guardian and Seized.
Exactly. I
Yes.
know that you like the CIS old boys.
Of course.
Now that roster Trident that they were previously, if I remember before, they had like I think his name was like Clax. I watched some of their games, right? And they seemed all right. Now, Singularity, isn't that a? Let me check with our expert here.
I think
Danish
it's
expert.
Swedish or is it Danish?
I don't know. Lucas, is
It's
Singularity
Scandinavian for sure.
Is Singularity from Denmark, Lucas?
Yes, I know the owner.
Okay.
Outlet.
Did you tell the owner to pick up Seized and Guardian?
Definitely not.
I was gonna say you're not friends with him then, are you? Because like, okay, so this.
I mean, he had a Danish team before this, and they even played in our league, and then apparently that went south as well.
Yeah,
he had an American team.
He had a bunch of teams.
OC played for him.
But this team here, what are we expecting from this, Prof? Like, are they? Is it because maybe they can qualify for the major in one of those CIS slots? Is that it?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's not super exciting, but when I remember Seized and Guardian playing A site overpass, CT side, that was pretty good. I remember that fondly. 2015. That was 2015, 2016. Before the decoy memes came around. I just remember that fondly, and I want to wish them good. They did qualify for the closed qualifier for IEM Fall, so maybe they get into the RMR. Maybe they can do some damage there. I mean, it's nice to see them in a project that seems to be pretty stable. Like, these guys have been together, except Guardian, for almost a year now. So maybe something can happen. Like, just good to see Guardian playing competitive CS again.
Is it the same team as Trident, but just plus Guardian?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
They were called Best ZP or something like that.
Yeah, they're Trident and Best ZP, and now they're Singularity.
All right. Well, Devilwalk, you want the final say on Singularity? We're going to move on pretty quickly.
I'm holding out thoughts about this.
All right, understandable. All right.
Have a nice day.
Devilwalk 1 major, Guardian 0.
Plenty of heartbreaks though for poor Guardian. All right,
Guardian should have had a major, man.
Yeah.
The IEM Fall Closed Qualifier. That's kicking off shortly, right? Like it's on.
Actually started.
Yeah,
it's already 2 teams through.
So Sinners beat Fnatic. They're through. Who else is through so far?
Wait, Sinners beat them?
Yeah, Sinners over Fnatic 2-1.
Came back.
Movistar beat
Eternal Fire.
Eternal Fire very easily.
Yep. Let me bring this up just for everybody.
There's
playing
2
at
more
home
matches coming today.
Lucas, can you just quickly show this for everybody at home, just so we can go through this? I'm just going to read from top to bottom. FaZe versus OPAA, Copenhagen Flames versus Fiend, Skade versus Anonymo, Mad Lions versus Dignitas. Then we had Eternal Fire, Movistar Riders, and Fnatic Sinners. And going on right now is Endpoint Saw and Aura versus Ent.
Let's go, Aura.
Now, Aura, Swedish, right?
Do you know anything about these guys?
I played, I think, SPL with this Sen guy, but I don't really know the rest. Well,
okay. So pretty unknown bunch of kids, right? Because I'm having a look at them now. 18.
But they're definitely from the newer generation of talents.
All right.
Which, I mean, for me, the last 3 years, I haven't really had that much contact with the Swedish scene.
Been out of the loop.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit behind. So they obviously went from 16 to 19, 20, these guys, during this period I've been in this team.
There's a lot of youngsters though, right? Like obviously we've got the NIP Academy squad. Like we still have the main NIP squad where players like Linus and Plopsky are still pretty young as well, right?
Gamer Legend has a couple of Swedes.
There needs to be a Swedish resurgence though, right? Like Denmark has taken that throne. 1.6.
But it will come back, yeah.
All right. I like the positivity there. Now,
do you have we can look through this and just pick a team or a match that we think is super interesting or interesting at all?
Mad
for
Lions
me, it's
Dignitas.
Mad Lions Dignitas. Why?
Well, Mad Lions beat Devilwalk's team, so I'm sure they could beat Forest.
But Forest also beat FPX.
Damn. Well, with Counter-Strike maths,
Wow.
this
What
this
about
game's never
Navi?
going to
Can't
end. The
can't
Counter-Strike
argue
maths
with
is never
facts,
going to
man.
win. I don't know. FaZe shouldn't have any
FaZe
worries in their game,
Oppa.
right?
FaZe Oppa for me is the match, definitely.
No
Like,
Tan One Dig. Remember when
Notan
No
One
Tan
Dig.
One Dig stood in for Astralis like
Oh.
a million years ago?
Dude, this is
Oh,
Barry.
wow.
This is the big Barry topic, man.
So Barry's
Who
back.
cares about Notan at this point? Like, it's Barry who's been fucking
Yeah, it's all
playing
Barry.
since like 2010 and 1.6, and he's still going.
Fucking amazing player.
And
Is
he's
that-
the funny part is he's always been at this level. Like, he's always been at like the sub top, you know, just like bringing up people. He's never like cracked the top or anything like that. He's just stayed at this level, and he's keeps playing. He doesn't care that he's just not making it to the top.
I mean, he's basically Hunden's Hunden.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hunden's
Yeah, he's like the you know, you have like Slave, and then like you maybe have Snappy or something like that. Then you have Hunden, and then you have Barry, like at like the fourth tier of Danish game leaders, essentially.
He's 31. I think I played against him back in the day. Is that your match to watch, Striker? FaZe versus
I mean,
Barry?
it's not the match to watch. It should be a one-sided. But to be fair, like, it's fucking impressive that they made it through. Like, they were competitive even in the previous ones, from what I remember.
Yeah.
So like they made it to, like, top 8 or something like the previous two. So pretty cool that they actually did make it through. But I still don't expect them to advance. Who they?
I
guess if
expect
they're
Aura
playing.
to advance.
To the Fiend or Covenant
I
Flames,
actually
right?
believe that. I've watched one game they played. They played really good, actually.
Eternal Fire are going to play Fnatic.
To be honest,
in the
Aura
lower
could
bracket,
literally
by the way.
Oh,
Aura
shit.
Aura
That's
could
the
literally
match.
just play Ents and beat them, because Ents is the inverse of FPX. They're a team you're always ranked the same, like top 15 to 20. But Ents is like one team, one event they're like gods, and the next event they lose to everyone. And FPX is just like, okay, we're here, we make top 8 every time, and that's it. That's
Never
it.
invited again.
Never invited again.
But
they did it.
basically, I think last EPL we won the group, and then it was in weird group stage where like
You
I don't
played
know,
like
two.
two
It
group
was like
you
stage
stages.
played
one, stage
yeah,
two. Yeah.
I don't understand it at all.
Oh yeah, you reached the
Uh,
second stage.
And then we just lost again, the second group stage.
All
But
right.
either way,
Yeah.
I do think Aura will actually beat Ens. That's
Okay.
my prediction.
All right, that's insane, guys. You know how crazy that kind of thought process is around here. Anything's possible, I know, but like, all right. So
And I
do we
think to
have
win
a,
Ens is
EPL.
a preparation team, and what are they gonna prepare against Aura?
well, they're really good at rushing. You don't have to repair a lot when you do top rushes on Nuke every round, do you?
They throw them all correct.
No, they're not playing Nuke. Fuck, they're not playing Nuke. They're playing. They've picked.
Vertigo.
They picked
And it's
Vertigo.
5-2 reset.
It's a Zuma map as well, right? This is. How do you feel about this Devilwalk, right?
I feel it's a 2-0. Easy.
I didn't even mean the matchup. I was going to ask about the maps. What
Oh.
do you feel about Ancient and Vertigo, right? Do you reckon the younger gen coming through like gravitate towards those, or do you still think they're like all those
Vertigo
fucks
is-
playing Mirage?
Vertigo in Sweden, like in the Swedish league, is
Yeah.
like one of the most played maps. And in
Really?
like SPL, a lot of Vertigo.
That's good info, actually. Like that kind of stuff would actually be really important to get, like from the grassroots level. Like even in Lucas's league that he runs in Denmark, right? Like
Yeah.
it would be good to know like what the next gen of Danes are like gravitating.
It's like
towards.
Danes, they always play Nuke. Like never pick Nuke against a random Danish team. Like that's just well known. It's like the same with Train against Finns before. Like you don't do that. No.
You're just gonna get 10 rushed dinner all the
Yeah,
time.
they have their flash schedule.
Perfect flashes.
No, don't do it, man.
Okay. All right. So with this, what we're looking at right here for everybody, what Lucas brought up before, 12 of these 16 teams make it through. You just need to win one game. If you lose, then you go down into a lower bracket, as Striker was pointing out. Eternal Fire versus Fnatic. That is going to be the, I would say, the headline matchup in the lower rounds. Definitely.
That'll be a
so.
fucking heartbreaker if Fnatic went out of that, to be
I don't
honest.
see that happening, to be
No way.
honest.
Yeah, well, Eternal Fire, I think they're getting the rude shock of how difficult it is, like at that level, right? So they're kind of getting the treatment that everybody else has been receiving. So yeah, keep your eyes on that one. All right, let's jump forward. Let's go into the biggest heartbreak of the day, everybody.
Let's go.
Of the day, it's funny, yeah.
It's
That's about, yeah.
It's very
not going to
sad.
be relevant tomorrow anymore.
Very sad. Now, as we all know, North folded as an organization, and many tears were shed that day. And today, we need to do more of the same. Fessor, he's left South, and the team is disbanded. Approximately, we came back from the player break at the start of Pro League. So literally a month.
Can I just say they were? I said this on Twitter, but I'm going to say it again because it's just funny. Okay, so I went through the actual days just because I wanted to check if I was actually right because I just went out and said it anyway. MSL assembles new team. This is July 30th. This is when nothing was known about what the team is. He was just like, so it probably had been unofficial maybe for a while before that. Maybe a couple weeks.
We pranked them, I think, before.
There you go. Maybe a couple weeks.
Maybe it was during the same day he announced like sneakily that he had a team.
Right,
something
right.
like but before the players.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe a couple of weeks before that, he already had that team put together. But officially, he assembled it on July 30th. MSL's new Danish lineup unveiled is August 25th. So that's, let's say, 25, 26 days, right? Fessor leaves South, team disbands September 14th. That's 19 days later or 20 days later. So they literally were unofficial for longer than they were official and disbanded.
Almost sounds like a celebrity relationship. You know, everyone's speculating.
Britney
Are they
Spears
together?
wedding. Yeah.
Like
Are they-
that's
are
the
they
worst
not
part about it.
together?
Like they wanted to keep it so fucking private the entire time, and I was just like trying to get something about this team. Like, is it even Danish? Like, what the fuck is this team? And I was not getting anything. And somehow, like, they fucking disband 40 days later.
Well, just for everybody playing at home, if you didn't know what the roster was, it was MSL, AZ, Tensky, Yugi, and Fessor. Now, the only name there that you shouldn't be too familiar with is Fessor, because he was the only individual in that team that they got, which is from, like, I want to say the next gen. Yeah. Whereas the others you've all seen a million times, right? Tensky was most recently on Nordvind. Obviously, AZ, MSL were on that North project. Yugi got thrown around like a fucking. I was going to say something nasty there. I won't do that. I should say it because it wasn't that nasty. People are going to think it was going to be more nasty. I was going to say like a sex doll at a frat house. That's not that nasty. For some reason, my brain stopped me. That's not that nasty.
That's nasty, Chad.
It depends on how deep you want to think about it.
Yeah, do they clean the sex doll or do they not clean the sex doll? That depends on how dirty the whole thing can get. Is there crabs going around, or is there, you know, like it can spiral. It can really spiral, but we won't. But yeah, we'll get flagged for sexual content. But seriously, Prof, just on this for a second. When
About
you
the
heard
sex
that,
doll, of course.
no,
yes.
when you heard that MSL was making a team, did you think it was going to be Danish? Because a little part of me, what was that little part? I mean, the biggest part, I didn't think it was going to be Danish. I thought that was the last thing he was going to do.
Honestly, I have to admit, I didn't really think about it.
You didn't think about it at all?
I have no opinion about it. I
did, and I was like, him going Danish would be so obvious that it can't be true. Like he just has to go further.
Striker is constantly like mind gaming and stuff. Like it's too stupid to be real. It must be smart.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what would you expect out of an MSL team, right? There would be AZ like joining him 100%, right? And then there would be just like some leftovers from like the other Danish teams, and then literally that's what happened. So I'm like, that was so predictable that it was just so boring at the same time, right?
But it is a bit frustrating, I think,
I mean,
because
I don't necessarily think it's like a terrible idea to go like full Danish. I think there's a lot of talent in Denmark to go for. But what I was disappointed with was that they took all these like established people and tried to build this long-term project with. And basically, like, you're gonna have some fire up your ass to succeed if you have all these experienced guys. They want to be back where they belong or whatever, rightfully or wrongfully thought. It doesn't matter. But even if I would start playing right now, I would still somewhere in the back of my mind, I'm better than this, and tell myself that, and would be disappointed if I had other people with the same amount of experience and we not, progressing the way we want, right? Yeah. I think the biggest disappointment is that it didn't take more young stars, in my opinion.
Yeah, I thought that having MSL go or grab just some of these names that have been, getting thrown around all the time just from the pug realms, and then being able to bring them into a system, and then him being able to teach them the fundamentals of Counter-Strike and show them how like a team's meant to operate, and then use their raw ability to be that would be great. I can get behind that. I couldn't get behind this because this like is what Dignitas was, right? I see Halzerk, right? I think he's made a comment or two, like post. Remember in the beginning, guys, how I called Dignitas like a retirement home? I think I hurt Halzerk's feelings with it because he's not. He's the young peppy nurse with the nice ass, right? He's like that's what he was. He was the one that they're all like looking at, right? So the point here was not about Halzerk, it was about the rest of them, and the rest of them are gone. Just Forrest is remaining. But MSO was kind of doing something similar, right? With these names who they tried, but they didn't quite make it. And it just was another attempt at that, right? Whereas if he went for young, fresh names, then maybe, just maybe, right, we could have seen something really good. But unfortunately,
but you would
not
also
the case.
excuse the results somewhat
In
differently.
the beginning, yeah.
Like if you have all these experienced players and put them together and then you just fail, like of course you're gonna get flack for that. But
To be
if you're
honest-
actually trying to build something long term, people will understand that this is long term, like from the names that they're getting.
To be honest, they don't have a lot of matches on HLTV. They did fail to get through a lot of these IEM Fall Open qualifiers. They lost to Onyx, like the Serbian Ukrainian team with Bondik now. Their losses here are on HLTV. One is to Sinners 2-0. They should lose that every fucking day of the week.
Yeah.
They lost to Ave. Okay, that's not good. 2-0. And they lost to Spirit Academy. And an overtime to AAB. It's like some of these are worse than others. Overall, it's not like this is super disappointing. They beat some lower tier teams. I don't think it's even about the results. The results are not that important this early into a team. I don't think it's about that. It must have been about the internal stuff that people maybe just didn't align their expectations or whatever.
Maybe their practice was the results were even worse than this.
Maybe,
but I mean, even us in FPX have a similar issue where we still think that in the back of our heads we're a top 20 team, and that's where a lot of frustration comes from. But at the end of the day, we've talked about this, and we need to realize where we are at the moment and where we are supposed to go. Like it's super important to identify where you are and not be lying to yourself that you're better than you are, because that's like you're not going to progress if you make up these kinds of excuses like we're a top 20 team but lost against 150 team, like we lost, they're clearly better, like so we're doing something wrong. We need to realize that.
Yeah, people can make fun. Oh, they lost to Spirit Academy number 75 in the world. Where the South is a top 100 team. They're not a top 25 team. Maybe top 50 team, probably not, right? They're in between top 50 and top 100. They haven't proven anything yet, so it's not even. They should maybe lose to the Spirit Academy been around, been like number 50 3 weeks
Don't
ago.
they have like some players that played in their main
Patsy.
squad before?
Patsy is in
Patsy's
there.
Yeah, he got moved around from somewhere, or he shifted down or whatever. And there's a couple of other names there.
Their
that you
average
might
player
realize.
age is 17.6 though, so that's fucking insane.
Yeah, they fit the bill. All right, let's fuck this up, boys. Let's
Yeah,
get into
Yeah,
it.
let's move on,
we need to
please.
get going. What the fuck is this?
Yeah,
like
I know, right?
9:25.
We're in the opposite of a hyperbolic time chamber, whatever the fuck that is. Anyway, ESL Pro League. Let's get into this. We don't have a bumper for this. Let's just start talking. All right. First things first. Who didn't see the refresh 1v5? Put your hand up. All right,
Who
good. You
didn't?
all saw it.
What
Yeah.
do you- oh, okay.
So it's
Definitely all
live.
saw it. Right? Well, not live. I look. You could see it live. You could see it later. The whole point is here. Liquid got destroyed at. I've never seen a team ever. Has anybody ever seen a team lose a game at 15-15? Because I think I did for the first time. That was it. Because they switched off after that. Like, and I can understand why, right? We could completely understand why. But Refresh with that clutch not only took them to overtime, he literally won the game. Because at
I
that
legit
point,
felt bad when
It
that
was-
happened. I was sick to my stomach when I saw that 1v5, and I just like, how are they ever going to recover from this? Like,
do you mean like
ever.
in the future too? Oh shit!
I
Okay.
think that this is like that this is gonna haunt them for a long, long time. It's
dear.
not 1 week after wake up and everything's green and sun is shining kind of deal. No.
But don't
This
you
is
think?
a horror house scenario.
Don't you think they they exceeded expectations though?
Yeah,
It
but
doesn't
that
matter
doesn't
when this is
matter.
how
Don't you
how you
think?
go out. I think it
No.
doesn't matter.
It's like good job, me. We did at least better than expected. You know,
I
like
don't
it's just gonna
know.
be like fucking hurt more.
I look. You watch back the 1v5, right? We all understand. We don't need to do this fucking whole conversation about it, right? But you watch it back and you can understand how each part of that round happened.
Yeah.
You can understand
Yeah,
exactly what happened,
Sure.
right? Fallen dies. Okay, you give Fallen that death, right? That's not. He died. Elise tries to trade. The other two smoked off front side, couldn't contribute even if they wanted to, unless they were pushing the smoke or going to the one susceptible angle of coffins. So they played passive. At 15-15, after they've just come back from a 12-3 first half, right? Or 15-14 as they've just come back from a 12-3 first half, right? I can imagine that communication is pretty fucking crazy at that point in the round, right? Like shit's just happening. The two guys passive on site are left after the other two died CT. The only thing I think Yanko pointed out during the Illustrator segment he did the next day was Grim, instead of going Speedway, went the long way around CT spawn, right? Like
I can.
no, it's not on Grim, right? But he probably, if he went through Speedway, he might have been closer to trade immediately, right? It gave more time for the round to be played from refresh, right? But we all know where the problems were. Like the two guys back of site and the two guys CT, they weren't aligned, right? They weren't aligned in what the game
Grim
plan
doesn't
was.
even have info at that point. He could have easily just walked away down banana. They're not
That's true.
peeking.
That's true.
Like he has no information. He has done nothing wrong in this situation. The only issue is that you cannot be standing still. It's like looting in a fucking battle royale. You don't stand still. You jiggle. You do something. You're alive. You like. Everyone knows this, and that's the main issue. Like you can't let someone get a clean kill of you standing still.
So on that then, right? Like, do you think the team is pointing blame, right, Devilwalk? Like, do you think that that's going on? But like,
I think
obviously,
everyone did a
100%.
mistake, but
Yeah.
of course it's easy to say like, if you only did that, I said this, you should have reacted it this way. You know, like that's easy to say. I mean, to be honest, it's in a game of Counter-Strike, yeah, everyone made a mistake. This were probably a few misunderstandings, but this mistake is so common in Counter-Strike. It's not like this round isolated itself is just trashed here compared to the other mistakes we see. It's just the way that Refresh also capitalizes on it, because he makes, you know, obviously the perfect, like the only way to win this round he did, you know.
Yeah.
If he doesn't peek CT or spray that guy that walks through the smoke and actually turns to the side, which 9 out of 10 times would have happened in a regular scenario, then Elish would have gotten the kill. Like there's so many small factors that gives him this clutch that it's almost
I mean, I guess the
irrelevant to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, but the 2v1, like in the site when the two guys were like one oranges and one dark, right? Like that's the situation where people will look at and say that's where we fucked up. Like that's the actual fuck up, where we didn't pick them
one of
together or
them
whatever.
could jiggle, and you would
Yeah,
automatically win the round.
Like literally, you have two people who either of them can go for like a jiggle peek and just figure out where he is, and then you pick him together, and the round is over. Like there's nothing you can do.
You don't even need to peek him. Like you just need to jiggle once,
Yeah,
make sure he's not close for your mate. Like if, for example, if NAF would jiggle left side and Stewie would jiggle right side, they would win.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like that's the situation that you will look at and say that's where the fuck up is. Like the first two deaths, like Elish goes through a smoke immediately after Fallen dies. Like that's kind of like a trade situation. You can understand those two deaths, right? Like Fallen had nothing to do with it, and then Grim was kind of like outside of that situation entirely. So and then he played just the 1v1, right, where he also like left the guy with fucking 3 HP, which only happened because he only got tagged for like 13 HP at the beginning of the round by an op. So that's kind of
the hard
like
time,
it all together.
The hard thing to analyze is also like, I'm sure Chad, you know, and everyone who's played CS, let's say I'm Elish, I walk through the smoke, hey, he's pool, hide, and then everyone's just like reacting to that. They're hiding in their corner and they're listening to their mate and trusting it, and then all of a sudden everything goes to shit. You know, like I think it's not just the individual players making a mistake. Some other influence like is contributed here.
Sure. All right, let's do this because we could talk all day about the 1v5, right? And the ramifications. We'll have to wait and see how they look in Blast coming up. But Prof, in terms of the team that you saw at this event, how do you feel about Liquid now? Do you think that they're a contender?
Pretty good. Like, considering how we went into it, we didn't really put a lot of stock into Liquid.
I gave them nothing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe something, but we didn't even maybe think that they were a lock-in to make the group. Like, maybe they make it, maybe they don't.
Yep.
So from that perspective, looking pretty good overall. I liked what Grim brought over. Like, I think he is really similarly to Misuta. They came in at a similar time, I feel like, and they're both growing into being players that look like they deserve to be on a tier 1 team, top 10 team. Maybe not the best player on the team, but when they are put into these situations where something is expected from them, they can deliver. So I think that's pretty cool. Fallen individually also looked better. Just everything on the team looked like made more sense. So I'm very happy from what we saw from Liquid. A lot of question marks before the event. So yeah, thumbs up for them.
Yeah, I think the Fallen resurgence was a really good one to see. I think the Fallen just plays exciting Counter-Strike, so it's exciting to watch when he is on. But it felt almost every game there was 2 players contributing in a big way, right? We had Elysian Fallen, that was a pretty common conversation. Elysian NAF for a moment there. We had, I think there was even a game where Grim was just fucking railing everybody, right? Stewie was their lowest rated player in the tournament, I think. I have to go and double check that, but I think...
Yeah, Stewie 0.99, Fallen 102, and then 110 for Grim, 114, Elysian NAF, 117.
I think that I don't know how I completely feel about Fallen taking back the in-game leadership, but I think if I frame it this way, right? Tell me what you think about this, Striker. I frame it this way, that Fallen gets the final say and is looked at by the team and is set up by the team to be the in-game leader, right? They obviously do everything together. They have a Dren there, right? I'm pretty sure and pretty confident that players like Elysian, NAF, and Grim and everybody are contributing to the way that they want to approach the game and the things that they're doing. But what we saw, if you guys watched any of Elysia's highlight videos, is how much micromanaging in the mid rounds Stewie's doing, right?
Yep.
Whether he's calling utility or player positions or timings or whatever. I think the thing is, because Stewie is such an emotional individual, and if you've ever watched a Liquid game on cam, you will see it. You will see it from sometimes round to round, right? You can get him having a big play and then looking at the cam. My cam's here, and fucking G'ing it up, and you can see him fucking doing the JDM, leaning back, doing this shit, right? Like you get both Stewies within a game. Now that is not really what you want from your in-game leader unless you're Vitality, apparently, right?
It's not.
I don't think even if you're a Vitality, you don't want it.
But do you think with that framing right there that they give Stewie the ability to be the mid-round caller until he doesn't do it, and then Fallen will just do it, right? Like it's like having a primary AWPer that decides he doesn't want to AWP, right? Like Stewie, they're going to let him, when he's fucking feeling the mojo, he can call what he wants to call. When he's not in that mood, then Fallen just picks up the slack and has to do it. Like that's to me how this looks. Like, do you think there's any legs to that, Striker?
I mean, yeah, to a degree, but I think I'm not sure who I talked to about this. I think it was you, Prof, where we were talking about kind of like how these situations, even like obviously only like certain mid rounds are going to get like late rounds are going to get included in these videos from Elite, right? It's like it's not going to be like pre-round, talking about like how the round is going to be set up or whatever, like setting up the default and stuff like that. And it's a lot of the time it won't even be like the super last call, right? Like it's just going to be mid-rounding a lot of the time. So like no, that could just be like the setup where Stewie just has a lot of say in the mid round, but like at the start of the round, it's Fallen. At the end of the round, if there's a final call to be made, it's usually Fallen, right? So like these videos could be misleading to a degree just because of it's only certain situations that are going to be put in it, and it's always going to be like very similar situations. So like to that level, I think it could just be that Stewie just has like a lot of say in the mid round, and like everything else is Fallen. So that's kind of like the way I look at it. So I don't think it's like Stewie's only calling like until he doesn't feel up to it or anything like that. I think it's more like the beginning of the round, mid round, late round. Like that's kind of like how and could be like dependent on maps and positions and where Stewie is playing at the time as well. Like that kind of stuff, that ties into it. So I think it's just more of a like Stewie's probably still more of a secondary caller that just has a lot of say because he's in certain situations that just work for it, right?
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, I have something to say on that.
Yeah.
I think like in CS, I feel like Stu is kind of like the janitor. Like okay, this is the plan. Oh, that's a problem. I'll clean that shit up. You know, like
okay.
like he has the responsibility to solve the issues of what maybe the overarching plan is. And sometimes it's not as easy to just be like Fallen's holding an angle, let's say Inferno is holding short or something, and the three long players go there and they do their thing, and it's Fallen can't make that call how to fix that issue. Like, how do you fix it? Okay, smoke it off. Fallen can't be doing that from short. Someone else has to take charge. Someone has to be creative with how you get to the actual objective itself. So I think it's more like Fallen maybe overarching goal of how they want to set up the round, and if they encounter any problems, Stu is kind of the janitor to solve the issue.
Yeah, well, I could definitely see that, right? I put a lot of stock in emotions, right, and people feeling it, but both what Striker presented, what you've presented as well here, both also very likely options. So let's keep moving. Let's keep grooving. Let's jump into this heroic stuff. Right now, obviously, they did beat Liquid in that matchup to then go through and play against Navi, and that was another great series, right? I think heroic offered us two of the
best series.
I won't
yes.
even. They definitely did offer the two best series, right? We can debate about the grand final a little bit later, but the heroic games are really exciting. And now coming into this Striker, we obviously knew that there was a lot of pressure around them. We know the whole Hunden situation. We know the allegations that he's thrown out, the fact that there's evidence out there. Nobody from the OG camp, well, Nico from the OG camp hasn't said anything. And the stuff from the heroic camp, we saw what their comments were in that press conference. You talked about it last time around, I think.
Yeah.
Were you surprised to see them not buckle?
Not necessarily, just because of the group stage and how confident they looked there already. It's like there was plenty of tells. There were plenty of tells that gave away that they were going to be a solid team in the playoffs. Like maybe not like the top team, because we kind of all expected Navi to be that, right? And possibly Gambit at that time. But like we knew they were going to be competitive. Like I think everybody kind of expected that after group stage. So at that point, I think the pressure's kind of off already. Like they've already played through some of the matches and stuff like that. So I don't think that's like there's anything that changes between the group stage and the playoffs. Like they've obviously been at that stage already before. They've won tournaments before, so it's not like the fact that it's a playoffs match is going to have any sort of say in the pressures. So I don't think that played a factor at all. I think it was just more the same from the group stage. Like Refresh was even better, I think, if you look at the playoffs. Like he had so many, even in that Liquid series, even beyond that 1v5, he had something like 3 1v2s, like on two other maps and stuff like that. He was just like a massive player for them during the entire tournament, and that was like the biggest difference that I saw between that heroic team and the one that we saw in Cologne, for example. Like obviously Refresh had a couple of rough tournaments, and when you have that guy just being the best player of the team almost a lot of the time, then like obviously you're going to look a lot better. So I think that's what I saw at least.
I wouldn't mind throwing this your way, Devilwalk, in terms of Refresh as a player, because this is where I wanted to go next regardless. To have a rough land performance and then to have this massive performance, like, do you think that's just the nature of the type of role that he plays in this team? Do you think it's the nature of the type of Counter-Strike that Heroic play? Like, what do you put that down to? Because being top 5 rated of the entire event, right? And then you compare that to the Cologne performance. That's quite the change.
Well, first of all, always consider the Refresh to be one of the better players in that team. I think that he is super annoying to play against, and he can buy, like, sometimes he buys time as a. I remember when they were playing, like, even Fragsters, when he was playing in that team, and they were playing like Train and stuff. He would just like be lurking like teammate, and basically like when they were hitting in there, he would just run out to Electric and he would just sit there, and he would just delay the rotation by showing himself and jumping to that place. It didn't matter, like if one rotation stayed, you were just fucked holding the inner, and if you tried to kill him, he bought too much time. Like there was no winning scenario. Like and I always like saw that quality in him, and he seems like a super smart player, and he does the job the team needs to win the round, even if he doesn't get frags. Like he's just annoying to meet on a server.
Yeah, it's just a bit of a weird one, right? Like to go from like to winning all these clutches and stuff, right? The 1-on-5, you can leave that one even out of discussion, right? Like I understand the impact that had, but just to see him now performing in this. Do you think this is something we'll see in the future here, Prof, or do you think this is going to be like a hit and miss?
I don't know. That's a very difficult question. I think it ties into the online heroic part as well, because it's impossible to ignore that part, the way they played here versus how they played in Cologne. Of course, in Cologne they had even maybe all of this that we know now was already happening in Cologne in their heads, right? They know that there is some tension between all of these moving parts at heroic, so maybe that played the part, but I think it still laid more on the land part. Online heroic it just hits differently. It's just how it is. We saw them again being so super annoying in the mid round, just recovering all of these situations which look like the round is done, you don't know what to do. The situations where you watch VP, if this happens, the round is over, they're saving, right? And heroic are a team that just managed to somehow make it work, or even at least make it close, right? That's what I saw again, and that must also influence how Refresh is playing. So if we go back to LAN and then heroic is again not able to do this, I'm sure that Refresh will also have a lot of a tougher time, because he's one of these players that is alive in the late rounds a lot of the time. So if they're in the late round 2v5 and can't even get the first frag, then yeah, his rating's gonna suck. He's not gonna have a lot of impact.
Sure.
I mean, from when I talked to them in the press conference just before the playoffs, like I asked about Refresh specifically, and like kind of what made him be back in his old form, and it was basically like the answer was pretty much that it was almost all mental. Like, I don't know if necessarily confidence related. They didn't necessarily say that, but that's what it sounded like to me for sure. And that, like, obviously after you have an event like this at ESL Pro League where you're literally the MVP candidate until you go out, like that's going to do a lot for your confidence. And the fucking 1v5, that's obviously kind of like a cherry on top. In terms of
just
like
rewatch
confidence
that and,
rating,
gain
like
confidence.
that's
That'd be better than
honestly,
sex,
as much as
Yeah,
honestly, definitely better than sex.
for sure.
Not even a question.
No, it's fact.
Sure.
It's not even a question. If
How would you know, Sponge, as if you had a 1v5 to win a match?
All right. Well,
Look, that's like one of those situations where like everybody.
I'm not
like,
sure I'm in that boat either. Ken, so.
Well, okay. Whatever the best thing I ever did in Counter-Strike was still probably better than sex. So there you go. Let's
like it is one of those things like where like kids like dream of this happening on LAN, you know, where like they picture themselves on the stage and this is what they do on stage. Like that's what 99.9% of people will dream of, and then Refresh is the one guy who does it, right? So like as much as ridiculous as it sounds, as what like one fucking situation could do to your confidence, like that's literally a game-winning clutch. Like even if it was 15-15 as you were saying, like that just destroyed Liquid entirely. And he had a massive tournament outside of that as well. Yeah. So like that's gonna do a lot for your confidence. So I think Reaper is gonna keep this up.
Okay, cool. I'll just keep us moving here. We're gonna jump into OG. They're an international squad. Yes, Prof.
I think we just need to like speed up a bit, because we're going like super fucking slow. We're never gonna end this episode.
All right.
So some of these themes that we don't have a lot to talk about, probably OG. I don't know. We can just like have short comments and then move on, because I want to talk about NAVI and the Grand Slam.
All right, let's do this.
Nothing else.
Just throw this one Devilwalk's way. OG Devilwalk. They're an international team like you guys, right?
Yeah.
Do you see any similarities in that team? Right? Do you see why maybe they're having a couple of problems?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's always difficult culturally to fit like so many different nationalities and how they bring Counter-Strike from different regions, because every country plays differently and thinks about situations differently, and to make that match is it's a difficult job. But yeah, I don't consider OG to have even a remotely similar play style than us.
Okay, all right. NIP. Living up to expectations, Prof?
Definitely not, right? We expected them to at least be... Of course, we didn't know what's going to happen. Mousesports, OG, like these are the teams that are kind of difficult to beat. Anything can happen, but the way they lost to OG was kind of disappointing. And it's just one of these... It's almost very similar to OG when they just like don't show up for a game. And NIP has these games where they look very one-dimensional. People figure them out and shut them down, and it just over and over so bleak from them. which I think is a warning sign for them as a team. That it's not even about the individuals. It's not even about, let's replace LNZ with a new player and now we have a full lineup. But it just feels that they are kind of limited. It is actually, when we had Hampus on the show, he did talk about like the difficulties of reintegrating a new player all the time. That really is gonna hamper you in terms of developing a deeper map pool. Hampus you, that deeper map pool, more strats, anything. So yeah, they need more stability, definitely. And then hopefully we'll see more stable, more like top 5 contender NIP, because now they're not top 5 contender. I don't think they're close to that.
All right, let me do this one quickly, Prof. Is Linus going to be with them at IEM Fall, do you think?
I mean, we know that he is.
Oh, he is?
Yes.
He's in?
Yep.
He's submitted?
Yep.
All right, there you go. Don't even worry about that question. All right, Striker, Gambit, Falter again. Do you think that people have worked out how to play against them now?
I'm trying to. Who the fuck did they play
lost
last?
to Vitality.
Oh, there you go. There you go. And it was pretty one-sided as well, right?
They got wrecked.
It was pretty
by
convincing.
Vitality. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember all these series because like this was like the least interesting one of them all, so I just don't remember at all what happened there. Like
This was
definitely not the least interesting of them all. I had to do
okay.
I had to do
out of 15
out of the last like 6 series or whatever it is. Like I think this was the least interesting.
Same as Striker, trying to remember the series. I think this was when Exile was like super bad on Vertigo, but then he made a comeback, but then they lost still.
He was really bad on Inferno. We got 5 kills on the entire map that went 16-11.
Okay.
Then they played Vertigo, and he was still kind of rough again, but he ended up almost top of the scoreboard. I think his CT side, he had 7 kills on the T side, whereas he had 15.
Or was that was maybe against Liquid in the group stage? I don't know.
He did have a couple of rough games.
I don't even know what to chalk this down to from Gambit. Is it like Vitality being
I know
kind of good? No?
This is the first time they've ever taken a break.
Okay.
Yeah, could be onto something there. Like
I think that's the entire reason. I think they took a break. It's different restarting. Like you have to lower your expectations. You have to work in a different way to build up to where you were and then start building again. I think it's like a layered thing, and I don't think they've experienced that. They've just continuously built and never really went down. And now they have to start that kind of rebuild. After a break.
Also did the coaching reintegration, right? That was a bit of a conversation there as well. So it's going to be curious to see if they're able to find their form. The CIS RMR is coming out very soon, right? IEM Fall over there, so we'll see what happens with them there. But they should qualify for the major, no dramas. It'd just be interesting to see by the time we get around to the major, right? But it's good to see that they're actually human. All right, Vitality, the French. We've had Striker. I'm going to throw this one back to you. You didn't give me a lot there. Are you going to give me a lot on this one? Aren't you? We got this team making it all the way to the grand final and being competitive, taking maps. Okay, let me just put it this way, because we're still going to get to the NAVI conversation. But out of the 4 events that NAVI won, right, to get the Intel Grand Slam, the other 3 were all 3-0s. This is the only time in any of those grand finals that a team took a map off of Na'Vi and they took 2 convincingly. So do you think this Vitality was legit? Do you think Navi's nerves played into it? What do you think?
I mean, the final was a weird one. I'd almost say that was kind of like almost irrelevant to what I would think about Vitality. I thought whatever, like it was kind of like the road until then that kind of sold me on Vitality already. Even though they're still inconsistent, they still have kind of like the same problems that you can see from them. I guess I don't even know what the difference necessarily was. I guess they all just had their moments, right? Like if you think about it, like every single one of their players had like some massive game at some point, even beyond Zaiwu. Like you've had like certain maps that like somebody else stepped up and stuff like that. So like the final itself was almost weird in that sense, just because Navi weren't really up to par with what they had before individually. Like they just had like some people just like completely missing a map. s1mple was just not inhuman, he was just like at a normal level and stuff like that. And so like to a degree, I would almost attribute the fact that it was that close to that Navi just didn't turn up individually as they would have like in the previous series. So I think that's what made it so close. And in terms of I'm not even sure what to think about why Vitality were this good, to be honest, because like they still had like you still saw maps where they had the same issues that they would have previously. Like they just had one guy who's just doing it all, sometimes not even Zaiwu, and then like everybody else disappears, right? But then the next map is completely different, right? Then you have everybody stepping up. So I don't know what to think of this now. Vitality, to be fair.
Well, Shox was obviously a bit of a, I don't want to say revelation because he's not a revelation.
Yeah.
But his form in the final was the Shox form that they need if they want to be a competitive team, right? Like that Shox was the one that they need if they want to go deep in tournaments every single time, right?
Right.
So I think that was definitely a factor for the competitive nature there in the final. Like he showed up in a big way. I think Alex and I were trying to bring back the term like big game player, even though he's playing for me.
That was pretty obvious from the final for sure. Yeah, he was in so many clutches and so many like key situations. He had a like decent impact in all of them. So like, yeah, he definitely was a big factor in that final.
Okay, so do we think, Devilwalk, that when s1mple and Zai were in the server, that they kind of negate each other's special abilities?
No, but I'm just gonna touch on this Kyojin vitality thing a little bit because I actually believe that it's like the way that Kyojin entered vitality was kind of like out of the blue and like kind of mid-season when RPK left. And I think it's really hard to perform when you're just adding someone in the middle of a season, whilst now they actually had some time to maybe switch the roles perfectly and do it the way that they wanted it, right? So I think that had a thing with it. But for the final and that question with s1mple and Saivu negating each other, I don't know. I think that maybe it's more about them not necessarily wanting to take that extra risk they would against any other player in the world, knowing they'll probably end up against each other. They probably first want to pick off the other players on the server, and then they have a one-on-one head-on-head battle kind of deal. You know, like let's not risk my life first here, and the same on the other side.
Yeah,
I'm curious about what you think about this, by the way. Like now that you say it, because like on Mirage, especially as it went late, I don't know if you guys noticed, but Zaiwu was in situations where he could have made the big play, and it almost was the right thing to do for him to be the big play, because he was like stuck in CT. You know, it was like kind of like that 3v3 situation where he should be the guy who just steps up, right, and just like makes some sort of a play, gives you that advantage, and then backs off. But like I saw too many times where he just backed off, where he just didn't take that shot. They just didn't go for that big play that he could have, because he's that type of a player. Like sure, like he's gonna play relatively safely most of the time, but like what makes Zaiwu and even s1mple obviously like the best players in the world is that they recognize the situations where they do go for the big play, right? Like they just have like this God sense about like when they can go for it, and they know that they can make it work. And it felt like towards the end of Mirage, Zaiwu just, I don't know if he lost that or if that pressure got to him or whatever it was, but there was like situations where I thought, like, why isn't he going for something more? Like he's being way too passive here.
But imagine the scenario: you are s1mple and I'm Saivu. We're both thinking, you know that I know that you know that I know.
It's possible that played into it, but it's just like it kind of felt like the pressure kind of got to him a little bit in that scenario.
I think it got to both of them. I think it got to everybody in the server. I think the pressure got to everybody in the server, and I don't know why it would have gotten to Vitality in the same way it would have NAVI. The NAVI one we can definitely explain away. But Prof, when you're you're watching that game, and the first 4 maps are super one-sided, are you thinking that the last map's going to be super one-sided too?
I was expecting that, to be honest, just because like you guys, you and Machine,
we had all the bad games.
All of the playoff games that you casted were pretty bad. Like,
yeah,
to be honest,
100%.
like props to you for staying into it and like trying to make something. Most of those games were like very uninteresting to watch. I mean, you made them interesting, like, oh, from us perspective, oh, look at how Force is being dominated, whatever, you know, you find something. But even the grand final, like every match seemed kind of interesting, even though the match itself wasn't, like the action wasn't. If it wasn't the grand final, it would be trash. And then I was just like, okay, we're gonna have one more of these games where just everything goes perfectly for one side, and we're done. But yeah, good that it didn't come out that way.
Just at first, to be fair.
Just tagging on to like the Zaiwu passive thing, I felt like on Dust 2, which was the first map, Zaiwu was being perhaps even too aggressive in some situation. I was kind of surprised with some of the peaks that he was going to on the CT side, where I don't know, I guess the team was in bad situation. And it's CT side Dust 2. Oftentimes you're going to be in a shit situation where you're just going to save, and he was going for some plays there, so maybe that could have been, and they didn't work out most of the time. So maybe that was a part, and maybe the part of it is just like it's a best of 5. You're playing for 6 hours, and then the energy level goes down, and with that, you just play a bit more chill, relaxed. I don't know. Maybe a part of it, but yeah.
Hard to play chill or relax when you have 11-10 and it goes back and forth. I think.
Yeah, true.
Those last couple of rounds were pretty nuts, right? So just for everybody, maybe you missed it. Navi ended up winning 16-14, came right down to the wire. We had Perfecto just ducking under a flash. You know, we've had a lot of these little moments that could have gone either way. But all in all, Navi do pick this one up, and if you didn't listen to us for the 374 different times we said it on the broadcast, they picked up the Intel Grand Slam. And that makes them the 3rd team to ever do so. And I wouldn't mind jumping into, because we all know Navi's legit now, right? Like, there's no more conversations about their slow starters, like this, like that. This team's fucking real. Like, we know it, and they're the best team in the world. There's no conversation around that. I think that they've actually created even more distance off the win of this event from any of their rivals. But I want to talk about here the Major versus Grand Slam, right? Because where did this? I didn't see the conversation really get started, Prof. Like, is this something that was being chatted about?
Did you? I think I saw it. Not
was
just
it in a content piece?
not really. I just on Reddit forums, whatever, people started talking about. Oh, what does this mean? Oh
this
no,
meme
now
versus this meme.
This meme versus this meme. Okay, the meme part is just a meme part, right?
That's
but
the fun part.
People did start saying, "Oh yeah, now that Navi, well, I mean, s1mple won a Grand Slam. That means maybe more than a major because that's just one event." Blah blah. And I mean, I can lay out my opinion. But
let's do this before you do it, and then lay it out. All right. Who in this chat right now, and I don't mean you in Twitch chat, I mean the 4 of us here, think that the Grand Slam is worth more than a major? Raise your hand. Not physically worth more. All right, there you go.
Okay, that's
All right, Prof. Lay out your rationale.
Okay.
Oh no, Striker, you have you.
No, I mean, I just wanted to give my rationale on why I think it isn't.
All right, you can go after Prof then.
Yeah, go ahead.
Get Prof.
No, I mean, it's very simple in my eyes. I don't think the biggest, even the biggest issue is when people go historically and try to say, "Oh, but now s1mple has a Grand Slam, but flusha doesn't have a Grand Slam." That's absolute bullshit, because Grand Slam didn't exist back then.
flusha didn't win a major on Ancient.
If it did exist, fnatic would for sure have a Grand Slam, because you look at 2015 when they went 2 majors in a row.
We would have a couple.
Maybe even 2, right? It's legit. Like, they won 6 tournaments in a row early 2016 with Dennis. Like, they would have a Grand Slam. NIP would probably have a Grand Slam if we started in 2013. So it's kind of I don't like the historical aspect where people try to push in, which is part of this discussion. You know, oh, this team has a Grand Slam. I mean, it's cool, but it is just a thing that exists and also has its own context. And especially now with Navi's win, I feel like the specialty about having a Grand Slam, I feel just is deteriorated because of how this Grand Slam worked out this whole season.
The saving grace, though, don't you think it's the Cologne and the Katowice wins?
I mean, they did it the best way they could.
Yeah,
to be honest, yes. But when you think about Grand Slam, when you think about Liquid and Astralis, it's about a team that defined an era. And I'm not really convinced. I'm not saying Navi won't have an era, but I don't think this so far is enough to say, like, oh, Navi's era, right? Does anyone disagree with this?
I mean, the Liquid versus Astralis Grand Slam is much more exciting in memory, at least.
Yeah, but it lasted longer as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Liquids didn't.
And to be, if we talk about Liquids, no, but if we talk about Liquids as well,
in terms of tournaments, it lasted long.
But I mean, it was a grind back and forth for a long time. Like, even in the Liquid thing, I think a couple of teams got denied in a row, right, before Liquid took it.
No one's ever been denied a Grand
Slam.
No,
but like, not denied. But it was like 2 tournaments for this team, 2 tournaments for that team, and therefore they had to reset it, right?
I don't remember exactly.
I don't think they reset it. I know that they changed the way that it was handed out after Liquid won it, right? They changed.
The thing about Liquids is, even though it lasted pretty short, they also did win other tournaments which weren't ESL tournaments in that like range, and all of them were pretty good. Alongside that, Navi's like one big win on LAN was Katowice. It was like years ago, literally a year and a half ago. almost irrelevant to like their era now. I mean, completely irrelevant to their era now. It doesn't have any. It just happened to work out this way because of the pause and everything. And finishing it off online is also something I was really hoping that it wouldn't happen. Just because for me, this is like a Grand Slam, but with an asterisk up there. It's not the same as Astralis and Liquid. And adding that, then people trying to compare it with majors, for me, it's complete bullshit.
Yeah, I didn't give too much thought to like the pausing, the stopping and starting, right? In the beginning, it makes sense why they paused it, right? Then it obviously went longer than they thought.
Yeah.
Then they brought it back for Cologne because it was on LAN, right? Well, actually, they brought it back earlier because they won DreamHack Masters Spring, right?
Yeah.
It's one of these things where I assume they were just like, well, I guess this could be live for a long time now. Let's just fucking get on with it, right? Which is good and bad. Bad from the perspective that you're painting here, Prof, that we are going to look at this with a little bit of a, yeah, that's right. But the thing is, if they come out of this and they just they win the major, they win then you go, okay, yeah, well then.
Yeah, then it's not going to matter.
Yeah. But if they come out and now they're like not so good, I don't expect that to happen. I expect them to be still very good off the tail end of this. I actually think if you have a little bit of a look at the best of fives they won on LAN, they actually owned their opponents. The best of fives they won online, even the Gambit one that they won 3-0, they won as domination. The ones online, they actually struggle more. I think this Navi, go back to the Navi with Flamey, regardless, they're better on LAN, right? I actually the numbers add up to that. But I think we all agree here. I think we all think that a major is more prestigious. I think that a major for everybody who maybe doesn't understand is like our World Cup, like our Olympic gold medal. Like there's nothing that you can do in your discipline that will ever top that. It is the Valve endorsed major. We all know
doesn't matter if it had 50K in the prize pool and the rest of the tournaments had 500. It would still be very prestigious.
The only way that it could ever change is if like a company had like 10 times the prize money and invited the 50 best teams in the world, and then everybody played, and then you came out king of the hill. That would be the only way, right? Like the only way. And I'm obviously exaggerating a little bit here. I'm sure you could do some wiggle room.
But it's also you get in the game, you get a trophy, and your name is inscribed to every trophy. Like if someone wins a major, my name is still on that trophy.
Yeah, forever.
Forever. Yeah. Every single major trophy, my name will be there on top or at the bottom. I don't know how they do it.
I'm just surprised that
it's gonna be there.
Yeah,
I'm just surprised that you know, I think that the Grand Slam in terms of you know what it shows over a period of time, obviously this is different, is great, right? And like we've had, for example, Gambit win a major, and not the Gambit that you all know and love now, the Gambit that none of us thought were going to win anything, and they just came from nowhere and they won a major, right? Like, I don't want to call it a fluke major. It's not a fluke major, right? But it's a
kind of is, yeah.
Well, they won it and then they were done. Right? That was it. Whereas like the Grand Slam shows consistency over time at a higher level. So if you want to have it from that conversation, yeah. But I think when we think of teams who won majors, the first team that comes to my mind is Astralis. Then it's Fnatic. Then it's SK. Right? It's the teams who won it.
It was always era defining, like that somebody won a major during their era, essentially. Like outside of like maybe a couple of majors. And I have to say the first one also belongs in that category a little bit too. But like if you think about
they fucking murdered her, didn't they? So it's one of those things where it's like I can see it from multiple angles, but I just think what the majors are and what they will forever be will always be the highlight. Like I don't know if there's any way around it, right? Even if the event itself isn't run great or like there's a controversy or whatever, it's still the major, and you only have a set amount of those.
Right.
But it's like, let's make a comparison to football. Like you grow up and you see a team win the Champions League, right? And then when you're 15, 16, 17, 18, you start playing professional football and this fucking Super League comes. You think that that's going to have more prestige than the Champions League? The tournament that this kid watched through his whole life? No, it's not a chance.
I mean, what I was going to say about the Grand Slam is that Well, first of all, they're not all created equal, as we were just talking about, just because of how the most recent one obviously kind of transpired and how long it took, just because of the pandemic. But the way it's set up is somewhat arbitrary, right? Like it's just connected to one tournament organizer, and there could be a whole number of things going on outside of that that have no say in it, and that means it could be tarnished in some way. Like somebody could win a fucking major that is not ESLs in the middle of that Grand Slam, and it's not going to count into
Oh,
it.
really?
Yeah, it's only ESL majors that count into the entire Grand Slam. So
well,
that's
makes sense because the sponsor.
Equal of
Obviously-
opportunity is also a discussion to have, since there is partner teams.
right, exactly. Like it's a set of somewhat arbitrary rules if you look at the scene as a whole, right? It could just be like you have to win the 4 right tournaments. You don't have to win 4 out of 10. You just have to win 4 out of the right 10.
Sure.
That's kind of like how I look at it. Obviously, it's still a very, very prestigious thing. It's basically like the second biggest thing that we have. ESL run the biggest tournaments, and they kind of like, especially with the way that they set it up most recently, where you have to win either Katowice or Cologne essentially to win it. Like those 2 events are basically like the biggest thing outside of the majors. So like with all of that taken into consideration, like Intel Grand Slam is obviously a really big thing. You have to win 4 big tournaments to get it. So like it's massively prestigious, but because of what I was saying, like I think majors are always gonna be the top thing.
Alrighty. We got anything else on this one, boys, or can I move into Blast? Everyone ready for Blast?
All right.
Blast.
Everyone's looking for Blast. There we go. So Blast is coming up. A couple days time. I believe it kicks off on the 16th, 4:30 p.m. Are we still in CEST? I don't know. When does daylight savings come in? Someone let me know. Either way, kicking off in a couple days time. And one of the big parts here for Group A is to do with Astralis, and that's the fact that Glaive. I think we already touched on this, right? Did we touch on this yet or not? Maybe we haven't touched on this yet.
What do you mean?
He's taking maternity leave, right?
Right.
don't-
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think we talked about it last time, right?
I don't know when the news came out.
I don't think we did.
We didn't.
Okay.
I think it's new. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I think this kind of just shows, or I don't know if this shows. Let me give my opinion, and then someone can chime in. I think with Zipex coming in for Glaive, we know that Magus can probably just in-game lead, like he's done that before when Glaive's been out. But right, this kind of, with Glaive being the only one signing back to the team, and the rest of the Zipex, Dupree, and Magisk not having done so, I think it kind of shows the direction of the team. Am I the only one thinking that? Is anyone like?
I have a thought as well.
Okay.
I mean, to me, I don't know if this is true or not, but to me, the feeling I get is this is some kind of prep to make Glaive a coach or something.
Okay.
Like,
well, they were going to get Hunden, right? We know that.
yeah, but like just with the rumors of Sonic leaving, that was the first thought. Like maybe he wants more time with. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. Like I have no.
Do you think that
inside information.
coaches have more free time than players?
Yes.
Okay. Well, they don't have to play deathmatch.
You have an analyst, or
Yeah.
Okay. That's all.
But it's all like, I mean, you can also organize if you don't have to be technically in every single practice as a coach, But if you're doing other stuff, let's say that you have a prac day and you could be checking demos and preparing for an opponent while they prac. It's not a huge deal to do every once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
Fair enough. All right. So on this Astralis news, right, we know that Zipex stand-in is going to be there, but they're going up against Evil Geniuses in the opening game. So let's just do this for a bit of fun here, boys. We've got Astralis, EG, Vitality, Liquid in that group. Astralis versus EG. Who thinks that EG are going to win that game? Anyone?
Wait, Astralis EG?
Yeah.
Must be
Wait,
Astralis.
can you link this?
Yeah. I'll put it in TeamSpeak. I feel like it has to be Astralis, right? Like if EG win this with. Like, is DAP still playing? We haven't heard anything.
There's certain rumors behind the scenes about that, and as far as I know, EG are not going to play with the full lineup.
Okay, so DAPS is still in, right? Like that's what we have to take from that.
That's the assumption, yeah.
Okay, so DAPS is still in. So we have the actual coach, and then we have the man who's been benched from the team, standing in for the in-game leader. So even still, I still feel like we're leaning towards Astralis, right? Like it's not out of the realms of possibility. I think it's like a 55-45 or a 60-40. I don't think this is like
anything can happen. Yeah. But I think that, I mean, Astralis obviously more solid team to the core, I think, currently. they should have the edge on that. But I don't know. I don't even know what to think. Very
Who was saying-
unexciting match.
Yeah, there's they said they're rushing B, Evil Geniuses, on Twitter. So you make of that what you want. Maybe they're just rush B. Maybe that's their game plan leaked right there. Who knows?
That could mean
maybe
anything.
maybe Rush is
That's
doing
my strat book.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, they've given us a lot there with that tweet. EG.
it. We'll
I
see.
mean, Rush.
Like
Rush.
Pretty
not
weak, though.
not expecting anything good.
Well,
from
I heard the
EG.
rumor a while ago that he was meant to be joining EG, right?
That was a rumor. Yes.
Yeah.
that was a rumor.
But
Even Floppy was a rumor.
Oh
as well.
shit! I didn't hear that one.
I think
All
that
right.
one
Floppy
was
is
bullshit,
now-
by the way.
I don't know.
I have a pretty good feeling that there was a bullshit, but that one was bullshit at least.
The floppy one.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do this, boys. We got Vitality Liquid in the lower half of this. I don't think there's anybody here who thinks that EG or Astralis in their form are going to be the Vitality or Liquid that we just saw in their form of Pro League. Does anybody think that Vitality and Liquid are not going to make it out of this group?
I think there was a chance for Astralis to wiggle through.
Okay.
I think Astralis, with lucky, had very limited prep time for EPL. They were in the first group, so apparently they had only like 3 days of practice. So I wouldn't want to base too much of my judgment on Astralis based on that. And additionally, they're now again changing it. This is a plus and a minus. So Glaive is out, so Magic is back to calling.
Yep.
But also that liberates a bit of room for Bobski, considering Glaive is out, so he's kind of an aggressive player. So that could end up being okay overall. And they had now at least 2 weeks to practice with this lineup.
And Zipex probably wants to really show, that he's still got it and that he shouldn't have been the one thrown on the bench, right?
Yeah. Devilwalk is smiling over here. He has some secrets.
I saw this
Twitter.
simple. I saw it on Twitter now. This 1 hour later.
Okay.
Yeah, he came into the chat.
Yeah, I didn't notice.
He won't come on the show. He'll just come into the chat. So that's
He
nice.
did say he is asking for $50,000.
He did say he told us that
He didn't.
50. We
at least
never have been told.
That didn't reach me, at least. So I don't know who has been told.
Yeah,
If
this
we
is
knew it was
pocket
50
money for prof, so it's
Pocket
easy.
money for Simple. He just won a fucking $1 million.
You can pay us $50,000.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll start a car wash. All right. I'll wash cars at the front of my house here in Malta, and we'll see how much money we can make to get Simple on the show. All right. Yeah, I can see that logic. Anybody else want to chime in for Group A, or shall I move to Group B?
I mean, I just wanted to say that I actually thought that the most impressive thing about Liquid in the last tournament was how fast they actually reacted to information. I was looking at the minimap just as an old habits kind of deal, as I always do when I watch games, like constantly flick between. And they were so quick on they were so responsive, and they felt like the old, Liquid that would just drill down opponents by just speed. Like, they would just swarm an area and just beat you down, and you wouldn't expect them to beat so many there so fast. And I think that was the most impressive thing with Liquid during last game.
It's strangely enough, the way that they were playing is probably one of the reasons they gave up so many clutches. And then the one time that they didn't play like that is the time that they should have played like that. Isn't that irony? Yeah, that kind of hurts a little bit. But yeah, I think they were on the receiving end of a lot of 1vx situations, right? I remember bringing up some stat in that Gambit game they played during the group. I think it was like, I don't remember. Anyway, it wasn't great for them. All right, let's move on to B. Group B, G2, MIBR, NIP, Big. Okay, I think we were kind of impressed with what Big were able to put down when they had Gate in there for the first time. NIP, we don't know where this team is going to land, if they're going to be able to get to the bottom of their problems. You saw the tweet come out from Device, saying that there's some shit going on. G2 have to bounce back from a 0-5, and MIBR, MIBR, they have a stand-in for Bolts because, unfortunately, and I hope he gets well soon, Bolts has got the vid. So there's been a bit of that going on lately.
Got any health tips for Bolts as our resident COVID expert, Sponge?
Yes. Well, he's already got it now. He's going to have the antibodies. He's fine.
Good. Amazing.
Yeah.
Can you take a vaccine while having COVID?
No, you have.
You have to wait like a couple of months or something.
Should wait until you're a bit better. All right.
Good.
And as you know, I am a registered health I'm not. I know nothing about health. Let's not get me in trouble here with anybody. Okay. So in this group, I kind of feel like it's a bunch of teams who showed us G2 with dog shit. Okay, they just boot camped. If you follow any of the guys on social media, so they're just boot camping in Andorra. MIBR, we're not expecting a lot. What happens, Prof, if your boys G2 don't make it out of this group?
big trouble. I don't want to say it, but big trouble.
Big trouble. That's it.
Big trouble. I don't want to say it. If I say something, I mean, someone's gonna fly off this team. I don't see how something else doesn't happen. Like either the coach, the player, the manager, the CEO, something has to change.
I don't think Ocelot's going anywhere. He's probably the only one safe.
I don't know. You never know.
Yeah. Okay.
You never know with G2, right?
Yes, that's true. Striker. Yeah.
Go on.
No, I was just gonna say, Striker. What odds do you put on G2 not winning a map here in this group?
There's no way.
They have to win a map.
There's
they play against MIBR.
0.05% that they don't win a map, man. Less than that. Fuck it.
Okay, so we think G2 are going to win a map. Do we think they're going to beat NIP or Big?
Yeah.
Either or.
I actually think they will win the group.
I also think they'll win.
I agree.
Guys, let's hype them up. Let's do it. Let's fucking.
I think every tournament that is straight after a break is always gonna be a bit random. Like no one's gonna be fully prepared. There's gonna be holes in everyone's plays. Like no one's gonna be perfectly playing what their vision is. And I think now if they fail now, then we can act like there's trouble at the camp. But I don't really care if they went 0-5 in that. They probably had 5 days of practice or something. Nothing.
Well, Nico was in great form.
Yeah, but you can't you can barely go through the maps in theory in 5 days. I don't take that much into consideration.
Let's see if that result left any bad blood in the team. That's for me.
Okay,
I would be kind of pissed to be honest. If I was Nico, looking how the rest of the team performed, I'd be kind of pissed. I have to say, in the end of the day, everyone's making fucking fun of you, including your org. But it's why do I have to go through this? Please get your shit together, guys. Please, thank you. So yeah, if something doesn't happen, if they don't go through this, for me, it's a big issue. They should beat Big. They should beat MIBR. I expect them to top the group, but if they don't, big trouble.
All right. What about this, Striker? Who's got more to lose, NIP or Big?
NIP. NIP have more to lose for sure. I think the clock is kind of ticking on their lineup at the moment because of LNZ, obviously, and kind of they need to figure out who they're gonna have at the major. They're still gonna have some space to make some changes, but between the RMR, actually, I don't know how that works in terms of roster locks and stuff, because they do have LNZ for the RMR, and I'm not sure how the roster lock works after that point. If they qualify, or if LNZ plays the roster RMR tournament, how long before the major can they still make changes, or can they still make changes?
But now, is it really worth making changes? No matter.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of. Oh, that's also kind of what I'm saying. You probably wouldn't want to bring another, unless it is somebody a big time, that you want to bring in. You probably don't want to make changes within 2 weeks that the major from when the RMR ends, that the major starts, and maybe if you go through the second stage, then it's 3 weeks or whatever. It doesn't really matter. So you probably won't change. So I'm guessing they're still going to play with LNZ, but yeah, they just have to start putting up some results, I think. So I would say them, and Big are still in kind of that period where they're still, coming to grips with Gade. So there's still not a lot of pressure on them, I'd say.
Yeah. I think Big maybe have a couple more months in them before. Well, maybe not months. Yeah, a couple more events. We'll see what happens with them. Devilwalk, if I was to ask you NIP versus Big right now, we're assuming that G2 are going to go through top of the group, so that means NIP versus Big are going to play in the lower bracket final. Actually, no, the consolidation final.
Oh yeah,
right. Who would you have going through that game, and why?
It's such a flip of a coin for me, actually, because NIP has been a little bit disappointing, and I don't know if it's in mental issues and stuff like that doesn't just get fixed with a day or two. If it's not performance based, that can just flip next day to the other. But if something's actually going on with the device and he's having like some, I don't know, stresses or troubles. I don't know what it could be, but then I actually would put my money on Big because they impressed me a lot.
Yeah.
With Gade.
What did you like about what they were bringing to the table with Gade?
Oh, I thought honestly, I underestimated. I think their ability with this lineup. I had a much lower expectation to what they showed, which I think is positive in the sense that they kind of proved my brain wrong, and that makes me excited.
Okay.
That if they in such a short time can impress me like that, then I think that they will only continue to improve.
Okay, nice. All right, let's move on to Group C here. Group C, Devilwalk. We're going to stay with you. Navi, OG, FaZe, Complexity. Is this the most competitive group out of the lot?
Right, Group C here.
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
Do you think who do you think are the hardest end of this fucking stick here?
Who has it the worst here?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to. I mean, OG and Complexity aren't in the best of picks here.
What about this though? Navi just winning the Grand Slam. Do you think that for them is now like that with that pressure released, and now they're going into quite a competitive group? Do you think that might come back to haunt them?
No, I don't think so.
No, you think they're safe? They're just gonna fucking smash everybody.
They might lose them like against OG or whatever, but they'll make it through for sure. If they have a extra life, so to speak, to wake up, so I think they're fine.
Okay.
But I think, like, imagine FaZe wins against Complexity, Navi wins against OG. Like, this OG Complexity matchup must be so terrible. Like, oh, I would feel bad if I was either of those teams, because like Complexity is coming in with very little amount of prep, and for a very prep heavy team, I think that will hurt them.
We also get the storyline though, right? Of coldzera getting to play against FaZe.
Yeah.
Right?
That
Like
is
that
true.
one right there.
Yeah.
If anything's gonna fire Cold up is revenge. I don't know if anybody else agrees with that. That's the type of guy I kind of feel like Cold is. I remember when people try and knife coldzera, like that's what would fire the guy up, right?
That just feels like Brazilian in general, you know, like
Yeah.
you fuck me, I'll fuck you back. Yeah.
Oh dear. All right. So the OG versus Complexity. Do you think, Striker, that's the most likely lower bracket match, or do you think that these results like are going to go to the favorites? What do you think? I know it's hard to call, but
it's hard for me to like. I just don't see Complexity beating FaZe, and like obviously Navi, we just have those expectations for them to win to beat pretty much everybody, right? So, in that aspect, I think FaZe Complexity is the only question mark. And in that, like, I just don't see Complexity beating FaZe, honestly.
Okay. What about this, Prof? If that does happen, if FaZe bottom out of this group, they don't make it through, right? It's not the end of the world because they still get the showdown. I know that, right? But do you think that is going to set FaZe back? Do you think that's not a problem? They don't really care about this type of stuff, like, because realistically, we put Navi up there, and then the rest of them, it could be any result. Like, who the fuck knows? Like, do you think this is bad for FaZe here if they don't do well? Or do you think they're not really going to care?
I don't think like any of these teams don't go through. I don't think it makes a big difference.
Okay.
Literally, maybe it's the biggest issue could be maybe for OG, just because they're in this limbo phase.
Are we good or are we bad?
Yeah. FaZe, yeah, they're kind of wherever. Navi can literally go out, if you ask me. Could happen, but even though it shouldn't, probably. And Complexity, new team. So it's kind of random. Like, I can't give any prediction for this. You can like mathematically go for Navi, but I see a world where they don't go through, right? Just because of these things. It's not it's I don't know even where it's like 1 out of 5 priority for them right now. They're already qualified for the global finals. They have the RMR coming up that they need to do well. They have the major. This is literally down here, and all of these other big events coming up. I mean, not straight after the Grand Slam. They have like 10 days or something. Yeah. So maybe they have enough time to focus on this, but it's just gonna be a warm up for the RMR in my eyes.
Okay. I reckon we just get into playtime. Like, 'cause we can touch on the showdown list in the future.
Yeah.
We're going to have plenty of time to do that. Lucas, you back? Nice. Hit the bumper. Let's go into playtime, and then we got some more fun to have with Devilwalk. All right, we are back, and we are jumping straight into playtime with the Paramatch matchmaker. Now, last time round, Shocks gave us a lot. Look, he gave players all multiple different options. We're going to try and keep it to one or two options here tonight, Devilwalk. All right, I'm gonna kind of give you a bit harsher rules. Okay, so can you link it, Lucas, for us to be able to have a little bit of a looky-loo and give Devilwalk his link as well. So yeah, this is the one for us, and you will have one where you're going to be able to select. Now, as the Paramatch matchmaker goes, everybody, we have today we have 6 names, and they are not all Swedish Counter-Strike players. I'm glad I stopped myself there for a second. They are players that either Devilwalk has played with or coached. We've got Olafmeister, Flusha, JW, Madden, Stiko, and Zen. And the descriptive terms to match them up against, as Paramatch matchmaker, is easy to work with, hard to work with, will improve the most, taught me the most, underrated, first to Valorant. I like that one, Prof. I like that one a lot.
Kind of spicy, I have to say.
All right. So Devilwalk, what I want to limit it to 2. I don't want any more than 2 options being used, right? And I want your rationale. And you can start anywhere on the list of names.
All right.
Who you got for us and why?
Flusha taught me the most.
Okay.
Just in the general sense, like just by spectating him, the difference, like he sees things that that are like 2-3 steps ahead, you know.
It doesn't sound so bad. It just sounds so bad. It's like he's doing it on purpose.
It should have been that no one else sees. That should have been. And now 2-3 steps ahead, you manage.
No, but
he
solves issues that happen. He's so responsive, and you get a different perspective of how to solve things in Counter-Strike when you watch him a lot.
He thinks outside of the regular people box.
Yes.
Okay. What? Let me. I'm going to pick the name.
Should Flusha be in a tier 1 team? What do you think?
Currently, I think that once he left Fnatic, he could have. But
could he have gone to FaZe?
I think he could have gone to any team in the world he wanted to. That's how I felt. But right now, I don't know, to be honest. I think that, I don't know.
That's an honest answer. Yeah.
I have no clue, honestly.
All right.
It was so long ago I saw him against like a tier 1 team that it's hard to say.
This Gorillas experiment's been going on for a while, so hopefully we get something out of it soon. All right, give us Stiko.
Stiko is the easiest to work with.
Oh.
Okay.
Because
he seems like a nice guy.
He's a very nice guy. I mean, you don't need to teach this guy anything. He just knows what to do. And he's very calm. He comes very well. He's very disciplined in what he does. Like, if he has trouble with like a spot or something, he's checking demos, he's fixing it himself. Like, he's very super easy to work with. And he will never be like, if you tell him something, he will never be no or anything. He will just, okay, I'll do it. And then after we can talk about it, if it was a good idea or not, you know. Very, very sensible guy.
Very reasonable human. All right, let's go with Zen.
I think Zen is hard to work with here.
Here we go. Spicy.
Okay. Yeah.
Spicy Finnish meatballs.
I mean, it's. I think it's just a temper thing. It's hard to work with people sometimes if they're very moody. I think.
All right,
that's my reasoning.
That's me in a nutshell. So no wonder people stay away from me. All right, Madden.
I think he will improve the most.
Okay. Even still, like the mega ancient game we've seen from him? Like, is that his level?
Wow, that's
Consistent? He goes to that?
I think that like he has so much raw skill. Like it's actually insane if you actually just watch a POV demo or something. He plays super high sense. He's constantly making moves. He's quite intelligent in chaos, which is like a weird ability to have when you're like just smart in chaos. And I think that he will be the one that improves the most on this list because of that. It's a unique ability to have.
What do you think is holding him back right now?
I mean, it's obviously me. No. No, but I think that we just need a little bit more consistent play in top tier tournaments to get there. I mean, he's still very young in his career. I mean, he was almost. I don't know how known he was before we picked him up. I'm not sure.
Not really known, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, for 2 years he's been grinding in this team and he's improved a lot in these 2 years. To, I think on LAN, like he's a LAN player as well. Like he is incredibly good on LAN, and you can see like when someone has that hunger on LAN, they don't choke. They like almost just want it more, kind of deal. And I think that that quality tells me that he will improve the most.
All right. Let's do JW next. Because I kind of wanted to give you the option to choose between the two.
Oh, no.
What is going on here?
I think JW is underrated though.
What, right now?
Well, the last, I don't know, 3 years.
Okay.
All
I
right.
mean, I'm kind of on the boat. Maybe like his last stint, like last 2-3 months in Fnatic, were
It's
objectively
a hard
awful.
one because also Olaf, he's. I've almost thought that he would go into Valorant 2 years ago. You know, like it was almost rumored that he would, and then he came out and tweeted he wouldn't. Back and forth with FaZe. I don't know. It could be next week, and Olaf is replaced on FaZe. Who knows?
It does feel like that.
I'm clicking first to Valorant there.
Okay. All right. Well, give us the rationale on why you think JW is underrated. Because if I go look at the
Oh,
last
okay.
6 months of his statistics,
No, I think that
worse than my statistics.
like okay, sure, like, but the reason I think that he's underrated was that I think in this team, especially when like Golden was struggling, a lot of the leadership fell to him during the time in Fnatic, and I think that he maybe didn't cope with it as well, and he took responsibilities that he maybe too many to handle, and therefore he performed like he did. But I think that he's a really good player, especially at finding openings, and like not always the entry itself, but the space. Like he's a player that constantly puts the other team under pressure, and especially like new players to the game, when you have like a idol constantly putting you onto pressure, like it's really hard to play against. Like you never get the chance to breathe. He's gonna just punish you and punish you, whatever you're doing, and be almost inside your head with all these aggressive moves that almost unexplainable why he does sometimes. But I think that when he doesn't have these responsibilities and gets a little bit more groove into the game, I think he will be back and he will be a much stronger player than what we saw the last couple of years.
Do you think he'll be back on a team?
I think so.
Okay. All right. I was hoping you had some inside information there for us. Maybe you could leak us something juicy. All right. Well, that wraps up the Parry Matchmaker segment. Now, Prof, I turn
Do
to
you have
you
any
now.
questions?
I turn to you.
There's this one question on Instagram.
Okay.
Why is Devilwalk so handsome? Is
Oh.
it because of his major win that all girls run at him? Must be.
That's not a question.
It was sent by Devilwalk CSGO.
Tell me.
Must be an intelligent guy. Devilwalk.
Cool name, right?
Yeah.
There was one question that was kind of cool. Is simple sometimes toxic? Like how the fuck should I know? really.
I'm sure everyone is toxic sometimes.
What are we meant to do with that?
I
What
don't
are we
know,
meant to do with that?
This was the question. We are fnatic video.
Oh,
Just
yes.
why? That's the question.
Well, if I were the one that was, obviously the producer of this video, I don't know. Like, how am I supposed to? I went there. They filmed this is gonna be super cool, and we filmed this whole shebang. Like, all right, we're buying into it. We'll do our stuff, and then we're mid-prac and the video is released. That's our timeline.
They didn't get like a real company to do that, though, did they? This was like one of like Sam's mum's sister-in-law's cousin's kid wanted to do like a project, and they hooked him up, right? That's what happened. They didn't pay a company to do that video, right?
No, I don't think they paid a company at all. No.
Thank God, because that is an esports classic.
Uh,
That is an esports classic.
to be honest, like
Took many years to swallow
unpopular
that one.
opinion, I don't think it was that bad. Honestly, I think it was kind of cool to some degree. Kind of cringe, kind of cool. Not really sure where it lands.
I don't even
But it was
think
like
we were using cringe back then, prof.
Universally hated so much. I don't think that was fair.
I think that was more because of Fnatic's reputation
I mean,
than the
that's
actual
not
video.
just because we were hated.
Yeah.
Because, we were
That's
NIP's
true.
rival.
Yeah. That was a sad time.
I mean, not just that I don't know when this came out actually.
The video wasn't it like 2015?
I mean, it was when we were dominating everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
it must have been 2015.
must have been 2015, right? That
Of course,
makes the most
everyone's
sense.
mad at us. They couldn't win.
There
It was also after the Olaf boost and all that. So
Yeah.
that was not it was not a good period in terms of reputation for Fnatic for sure.
It wasn't fun. Let's just put it that way. But it was also people were cheating, accusing flusha before the event, and we came to like lobbies and stuff. People were like screaming at us, like players that still play professionally now. Very disrespectful things as we're walking into hotels and stuff.
Here's a
People
question. Fuck it. What do you think would happen today if this event, if EPL was on LAN and we have Heroic there with all of the accusations that are going around? This is something that I was thinking about with the Liquid Heroic game. Do you think that even during the game there would be some BM?
We were booed off like on stage for like 10, 20 events in a row. Every time we went on stage, we were booed, and still nothing. Like I can't imagine them being treated like less hostile than that. I mean, we would walk in venues and people like spit in our direction and shit. Like that was the days of being a Fnatic DS player or coach.
I reckon I must be one of the because just to back this up for people at home, right? When I talk to people about that Fnatic and we're talking about the team, and then the flusha conversation comes up, I must be like one of the only people when they go, oh, "Do you think flusha was cheating?" I go, "No," right? Because and I think that because we had like a close relationship with you guys, right? Like we were when we went to the MSI Beat It event, Fnatic was there. This is just for people at home. This was when we were Vox Eminor back in 2013. And then when we went to Sweden, we went to boot camp, and you boys stayed with us. And we would walk to Inferno Online, and you guys taught us what a Swedish shower was, apparently, where you just wake up and you fucking wet your hair. You guys, you motherfuckers didn't even have a fucking shower. But we were with you guys, and we pracked you guys a little bit. I wouldn't say a lot, but we pracked you guys a little bit because we were both in the LAN cafe and stuff. And then when it's since I remember people were talking about it when I was playing and stuff, but I know it more since I've been working on the desks and stuff, that people had that opinion, right? And that still stick to that opinion today now. And I don't know, for me, just thinking about that, it's I don't know, flusha, the one, he doesn't strike me as that type of guy who would I don't know. I don't have that opinion. The fact that has stuck around as a stigma. Do you think it's still as bad now? Do you think people still think that now? On the reg?
Yeah, I have almost never met anyone be it privately in my life or you know, when I go out, meet some randoms that hasn't said, you know, like, oh, did he cheat? Oh, yes, he did. Oh, why? Like, oh, of course he did. You know, like it happens weekly.
It's crazy. Like I don't know. Like yeah. Anyway, I'm sure we could go on this one for.
So,
Prof,
what
do
do
you
you
think he cheated?
I'm not gonna. Big trouble.
Big
Big trouble.
No, that's too far in the past. The thing is that he definitely, surely didn't cheat later in the career when he was still fucking amazing. So for me, that is enough to kind of clear him. Let's say in my mind, like it's impossible that he cheated in like 2015 and 16, and after all of these new things came in that were employed to stop cheating, and he was still playing fucking amazing. So for me, I think that's enough to say flusha legendary player.
All right. Do we leave it on that?
I
Do we
guess
have any?
so.
Do we have any actual Devilwalk questions, or was the best we got?
Just, like one thing that I got to thinking was that, like, obviously if you're a new fan and you come into the game, a lot of the time, like the team that you start being a fan of is like the dominant team, right? Like if you think about NIP at the start of CSGO, like everybody who started following CSGO was like, yeah, NIP are this fucking mega sick team because they're beating everybody. Everybody was kind of a fan of NIP at that time, right? Especially if you're a new fan. Like if you don't have any presuppositions about the team. And I wonder why that never happened with Fnatic. Like, if you think about it, like Fnatic's dominance came in the biggest heyday for CSGO. Like when the biggest rise happened in CSGO, that's when Fnatic were dominant. Like 2015, you know, when we started getting the big numbers and stuff like that. Like it's almost surprising to me.
It's not surprising at all. If you imagine that every single pro in this scene right now would tweet that Heroic were cheating.
Yeah, they wouldn't have a lot of fans. But they don't have a lot of fans now either.
Oh, but imagine the scenario. They convicted us for cheating. That's basically what the community did.
I mean,
every pro was tweeting, we cheated. How can Valve sanction an event with cheaters? How can this and that? Like it was everyone. It was not a single person in our defense.
There was a couple of people.
I don't remember.
I don't even remember all the tweeting. So what the fuck was I doing?
I remember all the tweets. I had 20,000 notifications one day, and I was just like, oh my god, we're hated. You know, like I was destroyed by reading Twitter at one
point. So why do you think that is for anyone? That Heroic isn't getting the same treatment for other pros. It's just like we're more mature. But yeah, yes and no, I would say. Like
no, it's vaguely like, put. It's not they
everyone's
are
like
cheating.
And then like asterisk, but nothing is proven yet. You know, that kind of an aura, and no one is calling them out on a daily basis. Like, please comment. Did you know about Hunden? You know, no one is doing that. It's kind of a weird situation. I feel like potentially more pressure should be put on them to actually say something.
I think that the community as a whole has probably matured a significant amount, and we definitely have more professionalism and protocols in place. Like if they were tweeting that stuff, I'm sure their org would be on them, right?
Yeah.
Like, we know Astralis run their players' Twitters, for example, right? So like they wouldn't wouldn't be able to say anything too bad, right? And now I think if you say things and it gets out of control, like it's not like it used to be. Like it's not like when Config was talking about Harambe, and you know, like it's not like that. There's not those days anymore. This is different now. Like still some crazy shit gets said, but I don't think it's like it was back 2015, right? So
it was much rawer. I mean, everything was rawer, and you have to also understand that esports is kind of like a friend group in some sense, and either you're in or you're out. It was like that before, at least, like which I think contributed to it.
I just came back. I have no idea what the answer was, which is rough. I literally dropped like
the
second you started answering, so I have no idea what the answer was.
You're gonna have to watch the VOD, man. That's that because I think we're done. I think we're done, so right?
Yes.
Yeah? I think we've come to the end of the show. This has been episode 43, Devilwalk. Do you want to say anything to the fans, even to the haters? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think you know, be a little bit patient with us. It's been a rocky road, but I think we're still on the right path, and I think we're making the right decisions as a team. And I hope that I can make us show a really good showing at the RMR event, and actually make everyone that is cheering for us proud and qualify for a major.
Okay. Well, that IEM Fall to qualify for the major is in approximately 2 weeks' time.
Yep.
2 weeks and 1 day. So that's going to be going down soon, and we look forward to seeing FPX return to playing against the big boys. Thank you for Devilwalk for coming on the show. Thank you for everybody at home for watching. A big thank you. Well, yeah, and we confirmed that the major over the Grand Slam, and we need to make sure. What was the new HLTV confirmed account name that we were looking for? I forget the one, but someone will have made it already. We also have the next show. I believe we're going to try and do it on the 23rd, right, Prof?
Yes, Thursday. I think that's the date.
Okay. Ideally, we're back on the 23rd of this month. And yeah, thanks to everybody for tuning in again. And thanks to the sponsors one last time. Bitskins, Parry Match, and of course, Xtrfy. So yeah, cheers, guys. See you next time. And
Cheers.
Good night.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets, guaranteed.
Fist bumps go to the teammates.
I wanna see you falling fast. Win the round. Win the game.
Parry Match, your esports teammate. Stuck ranking up? Lost the motivation to grind? Bored of clicking heads on aim maps? Get some color into your game. Bitskins.com. Buying and selling skins made easy. Tons of payment methods and instant cash outs. Just choose your dream skins, select your preferred payment method, and start grinding again. If you want to play like the pros, you gotta look like the pros.